Do-do-do. All right. Okay. Up. Just making sure microphone's working. All right. Background. Video is always. All right. Today we're going to be doing our suspension of Clark.
There's so many unanswered questions in this series, and we see this moment, and our mind races. In my time on YouTube, I've covered all kinds of horror series on the internet. The Mandela Catalog, Local 58, The Backrooms, Gemini Home Entertainment, The Monument Mythos, just to name a few. I believe all those series are great, and there's fantastic projects getting posted to the site every day. But because I've seen so much of it, it's hard for me to find something that I would consider new. Sure, there's a ton of series that do new things with ideas I'm familiar with, but it's a rare occurrence when I find something that I truly haven't seen before. One of those rare occurrences is what we're talking about today. Oakburn Opus is one of the most inventive and frightening horror projects I've come across on YouTube. Posted to the Red Diamond YouTube channel, it tackles everything from cult horror to folk horror to Lovecraftian horror, and a monster behind the veil at the back of the series that leads others to their terrifying end. With even some demonic elements and murder mystery to boot. And all of it, from the visuals, the sound design, to the plot, to the intrigue, is top notch. A few YouTubers like Nexpo and Nightmine have covered the series before, but since those coverages, there's been more entries, which means now I get to talk about it. As always, with any series I cover, do not let me ruin the experience for you. Oakburn Opus is something special, and I don't want the first time you see it to be a YouTuber explaining things that you can just see for yourself first. So there's a link to the Red Diamond channel in the description. Check it out, and then come back and we can talk about it together. Red Diamond also has a Patreon I'm going to leave in the description as well, because artists that are doing something cool deserve to be supported. So if all of that sounds interesting to you, then stick around after the ad as we talk about the nightmare of Old Oakburn and ask ourselves what really happened at the lake in 1997. But something else that can be a nightmare is eating healthy. Between the high prices and elaborate ingredients, most people just decide to skip it altogether. Well, thankfully, today's sponsor, Factor, is here to help. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals right to your door. And these meals are ready to heat and eat in as little as 2 minutes. And on top of convenience, Factor's designed to support your wellness journey, and it helps eliminate stress around cooking, cleaning, or cleanup so you can stay focused on your goals. Every week, Factor has over 100 options, from their meals to their salads to their breakfast to their shakes, and all of these are crafted for taste and nutrition. All their meals are made without things like refined seed oils or refined sugars, and most of their meals deliver over 30 grams of complete protein. And they can support your diet no matter the diet you have, whether it be gluten-free or keto-friendly, and you can get whatever protein options are best for you, everything from tofu to salmon. And you may hear that and think there's no way salmon would taste good coming out of the microwave. And a couple years ago, I would have believed you until I tried Factor. I don't know what they're doing to their food, but it works. My wife and I used to get to our favorite meals first, but recently, they're all good. Even stuff I don't think would be that great tastes delicious. And again, it's not only a meal that's inexpensive and good for me, but one that only takes a couple of minutes to prepare and clean up. Factor's made my lifestyle a lot healthier and a lot easier. And hopefully, it'll do the same for you, because right now's the perfect time to get on board. That's because if you head to factor75.com or click the link in the description and use code WINDIGOONFB50, you'll get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for a year. That's right, free breakfast for a year and your first box half off. Again, that's code WINDIGOONFB50 at Factor75.com to get in on this incredible offer today. Thank you all for watching the ad. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring the channel. Their link will be in the description.
If Jagger Razor, hi, hello, hi, welcome to the channel. Jay, channel, hi.
So we're going to start this analysis by looking at the first video on Red Diamond's channel, the circles. At the beginning of this video, we see a circle rotating that seems to be made out of fleshy growths. We're not sure what this means yet, but we will soon. After that, we see a small town in Alaska. Text then tells us that this is the town of Etosavic on December 5th, 1986, to which we then get narration from someone named Ethan Asner. Ethan says that he is from
Got the crown because you're number one chatter.
Ghosts or monsters, but by shapes.
Yeah, chat away.
Ethan says that every once in a while the circles appear, and when they do, the town is evacuated. Those that refuse the evacuation are never seen again. Ethan then says that the circles will be there in 5 days, and this time, he's staying. We then cut to the Astor house on December 10th, or in other words, the day that the circles were said to arrive. Cutting into the house, we then see a note that someone named Martha left for Ethan. We'll later learn that this woman's name is Martha Astor, and she is assumedly Ethan's wife. In the note, Martha says she's now uncomfortable around Ethan. He hasn't left the basement for days, and she's getting out of there before the circles come. We then see several perspectives from inside of the Astor home. Most seems normal, make your own kind of music by Cass Elliot is playing on a radio, until we see an image of the bedroom, and on the wall we can see drawings of several circles. This is shown more so when we see the basement door and the basement walls that are also covered in circles. The shadow of who we can assume to be Ethan standing in front of them. That night, Channel 5 News News has an alert for an anomalous event, giving us a countdown as to when this event will begin. Something I like about this is Oakburn Opus and Red Diamond's channel as a whole seems so far removed from traditional YouTube horror or analog horror, but seeing the Channel 5 news and then the report of an anomalous event almost feels like it's paying homage to things like Local 58 or Gemini Home Entertainment. On any other channel, the thing we would be watching is that news broadcast, but because this is a part of Red Diamond's body of work, it is just a piece rather than the whole. It's especially kind of charming seeing it now. I mean, there was a time period when that kind of horror dominated YouTube. All you had to do was have a small town broadcast format and say something creepy was happening, and you had a hit on your hands. Now we've seen so much of that, it's like audiences' appetites have been evolving. Even the bodies of work that started out in that format, things like Mandela Catalog or Local 58, have moved away from it into new kinds of scares. So it's weird, starting a new horror series as good as this one, and then seeing that on the TV almost feels like a callback. Anyway, the TV has its countdown, and when it ends, we see a white circle on a red background. This could be an automated program for the locals to let them know that the circle event is in effect, or it could just be the circle takes over everything when it arrives, including the airwaves. Outside, we see that a massive circle has formed above the town. At the same time this is happening, someone is knocking frantically at the front door. After this, we see a circle in the sky again, followed by another circle. This one being
Sure,
similar
go
to
ahead.
the we saw in the intro, only this time there's a red light flashing at its center. Perhaps this is the circle's true form, or it accomplishing whatever it came here to do. After this, we see more images from the inside of the Astor home. This time, the TV program is flashing several circles, the center of which looks like the one we just saw, and the clock on the back wall is quickly spinning. More and more circles begin to form around the home. Lights flash, growths appear on the television and kitchen cabinets. Whatever the circle's influence is, it has fully saturated the house. The growth works its way deeper and deeper, eventually making it to the basement door, and assumedly to Ethan. After this, we see a drawing of who we can assume to be Ethan, his eyes now mimicking the fleshy circle seen at the beginning of the video. After this, we see a spinning circle and text that reads, a cycle of destruction and rebirth, curved line of events with no beginning, circling light and shadow, through time and space. A line which can never be broken, a line which has never been born. Yet it still exists. This text is interspersed with images of, again, a fleshy circle, this time showing what appears to be a human eye in its midst. After this, we see a dark screen. The only audio we can hear is that disgusting growths and squelching, as our image fades in to show us what we've been promised from the beginning, a circle made of flesh. Only this circle begins to speak to us, and we realize it's Ethan. He says, I'm happy now. We see the flashing red circle above the Tosovic once again. Ethan again says, the people who decide to stay are never seen again. Some say they join the circles. Now, I'm one of them. And with that, the circles ends. So it seems that the reason the circle is so alluring and manages to trap people within it is because they represent a knowledge so far beyond our own. We don't know if the circle is alien or ethereal or spiritual, but what we do know is that it seems to be eternal. And to be one with the circle is to be one with infinity, a line that does not have a beginning or end. Maybe people come to that conclusion naturally after they see what the circle is capable of. I mean, for who knows how long people have been evacuating this town only for those who stick around to completely disappear. Maybe people just get curious as to what the circles are capable of, or maybe the circle influences a few people at a time in order to join its form. The circles reminds me a lot of Uzumaki, the Junji Ito story. I made a video about Uzumaki on my channel. You can check that out, link in the description. You know, if you want to give me even more money. But in short, Uzumaki is about a different town that is obsessed with a different shape. That shape being the spiral. The shape begins to show up everywhere, either from people's obsessions or from things in nature that take on a spiral form. In the first chapter of Uzumaki, one of the characters becomes obsessed with the shape and begins to hoard anything that has a spiral pattern on it. Ultimately, at the end of the story, contorting his own body into a giant spiral. It's revealed at the end of Uzumaki that all of the spiral obsession has been because of some entity that lies underneath the town. Something that has been doing this cycle of death and rebirth for millennia. And regardless if people worship it only or resist its influence, they all wind up at the spiral's altar in the end. Similarly, I think that's what we see out of the circles. There is an entity that is so far beyond our knowing that some people feel compelled.
Real quick.
We should start selling those. Wait, isn't this?
Same kind of tree you grew up with. Someone wise once told me that scent is the strongest trigger of memories.
Who told you that?
Papa, hurry up! I want to show you the best part.
Huh? Whoa.
So, what do you think?
Ah, I get it now. This tree is real fine.
Good boy, hello, how's it going? It's going good?
To bow down to it. I mean, if we truly encountered an entity that powerful, of course there would be people who would pledge their allegiance.
How's it
If you
going?
encountered
It's
God
going
in
good.
the world, you'd have to be
Just
foolish to turn away, regardless of how awful that God might be. And it seems Ethan received what the circle promised: immortality, an escape from death. Regardless of how horrifying he seems in the end, as Ethan said, he's happy now. This is just one of the paranormal encounters that we're going to come across in the Tosovic region within this story. The next of which comes in our next video, another VHS tale, this one called The Starving Five. In the beginning, we see an old film reel of what appears to be drawings of some creature, a creature of monstrous proportions with a towering body and a stacked skull for a head. If you have your captions on, text appears that reads, an exiled spirit, rejected from the domains of the afterlife. The earth repudiates its flesh, preventing it from rotting, damned with an endless hunger, a mouth that can't eat and a throat that can't swallow. Take shame on its grotesque form, using every aspect of its unnatural physicality to lure and capture prey. Its objective, to bring upon the decay of men's flesh and ego. And after we see the final image of this beast of three heads, get our title card for The Starving Five. If it isn't clear enough, this story centers around a Wendigo, or at least Red Diamond's adaptation of the Wendigo. Which, I mean, you know, look look at that up there, and then like look at that channel name like down there. Pretty up my alley. Typically in the Wendigo legend, the Wendigo is a spirit that possesses people who commit acts of cannibalism. The legend originates from native tribes of northern North America, areas where it was not uncommon for resources to be scarce and the cold to be damning. So if someone amongst your party were to die, it would be tempting to use them as a resource. But the Wendigo legend forbids this, saying that you will become the vessel of an evil spirit, cursed to forever be starving and forever attempting to satisfy that hunger. Or as Red Diamond's description read, damned with an endless hunger, a mouth that can't eat and a throat that can't swallow. And it's a creature that hates humanity, despises their flesh and their ego. This creature will be our main set piece throughout this tale. Text tells us that there's a place of unforgiving cold. We see shots of the Alaskan countryside. Text also tells us that this is on December 21st. A small cabin in the midst of the cold is lit with a dim light. We then see an abandoned, snowed-over car. As more text tells us, we are starving. The engine is dead. A flimsy wooden shelter keeps us away from the snow. We see the front door of this shelter that has been marred by the scratches of something. The text continues. Heat escapes through the cracks. Our skin hardens. 2 lone rifles set in the corner. Animals sing and hiss. Nothing is seen. We are starving. From here, we can put some pieces together. A group of people came out to this cabin in the woods, and then their car broke down. Now they're out here with nothing to eat, and it seems that something is trying to get in, at least as indicated by the scratch marks on the front door. We then see a view of this candlelit corner as our narrator continues. Natasha followed him blindly. Alex dreams unquietly. I watched the rumbling snow attentively. We are not starving alone. So we have the narrator, the I from that story, Alex, who's still in the cabin sleeping with him. But Gary thought he heard his lover coming from outside, so he and Natasha ran outdoors into the unforgiving cold. But if you're keeping track at home, that's only 4 people. So why is this video called The Starving Five? Well, as the narrator, who will soon learn his name Dimitri, says, they're not starving alone. We see more shots of the dim cabin. We can assume that Dimitri and Alex are the only 2 still staying here. Till suddenly, in the middle of the night, Dimitri hears a loud knock. Text that reads, wake up. Dimitri opens his eyes, and for a brief second, we can see the visage of something outside of the cabin window. Text then appears that says, the anxious dreamer wanders unconsciously. Will you follow him? One of the guns against the wall is missing. Seemingly, Dimitri takes the other. Earlier, it was said that Alex was dreaming unquietly, so this anxious dreamer is probably referring to him. That, in combination with one of the rifles being missing when Dimitri gets up, leads me to believe that Alex had woken in the night, taken a rifle, and stepped outside. So now Dimitri, that was woken by the knocking, is following after him. Alex could not even be aware what he's doing. He could just be sleepwalking, as the text said. He wanders unconsciously. But regardless, Dimitri is going out there to find him. We then see a phone and are about to hear the transcript of a phone call that took place on December 17th, or in other words, 4 days before this group of 4 ventured out into the cold. We'll learn that this conversation is a phone call between Alex and Dimitri. Alex seems doubtful that they'll find whoever they're looking for alive, someone who Dimitri just refers to as she, especially considering that she's been gone for a month. But Dimitri remarks that they're doing this for Gary. This makes sense because earlier we heard that Gary was lured out to the cold because he heard his lover's voice. So perhaps Gary's girlfriend or wife had disappeared out here on her own, and then when Gary went to look for her, he heard her voice out in the cold and went running. Now, mimicry isn't a part of the original Wendigo legends, but mimicry is a part of a lot of Western native traditions around things like skinwalkers that often gets connected to the Wendigo mythos. And if you'll remember in that opening text describing the creature, it said they use every aspect of its unnatural physicality to lure and capture prey. So it's very likely that this creature was just mimicking Gary's lover's voice, something that Gary was susceptible to since he came out here to find her. Also in this phone call, Dimitri says, this city is hostile. All it takes is one detour, miscalculated step, and you're gone. Dimitri is likely referring to a Tosevic. It seems residents of this town know that something bad happens in the dark around here. But regardless of this, Gary seems to be in denial. So he seems determined to go out into the woods to find her, and his friends decided to go with him. And as we see from the December 21st events, this sealed their fate. Now you may hear all this and think that Gary's friends
Would you rather fly
like
via
our world where someone can get
airport?
lost in the woods
Teleport.
and go looking for them. This is a place where Dimitri indicates he knows that things go bump in the night. And Alex says just the same on the phone call, saying it's foolish for them to go out there. But then Dimitri says something that's interesting and I think reflects on the rest of the series.
Oh, it'd be
Dimitri
cool to
says,
be fly. I just feel like I would get
after year, and everyone turns away because they fear
more
the truth. Perhaps
satisfaction.
like
I would be able
take us away from this melancholy.
things
It's like there's
I
this
could
overwhelming
tell.
dread on the people of the town because so many terrible things
Flying
happen.
would be
And
really
it happens so
cool,
often,
but
it's all the more reason to do something
I
when you
think
can. Even if
teleportation
the
I
person's
could.
dead, even if the best thing you can hope to find is a body, that's remembering someone when so many people, especially as we're going to see in future entries, have been forgotten. It's an act of humanity in the midst of an inhuman reality. But in a world as wicked as that which Oakborn Opus portrays, acts of humanity rarely go unpunished. And we're about to see that with Dimitri right now. Dimitri begins walking through the snow. Text appears that says close, then closer, and Dimitri is spoken to specifically, the voice telling him almost there, till eventually Dimitri finds what he was called out there to see. The body of Gary lying in the cold. Not far off, Natasha lies dead in the snow as well. Through the darkness, Dimitri then sees some figure above the broken trees. Perhaps this is something blocking the moon. Perhaps this is a large eye. As Dimitri looks closer, the creature reveals itself. A mass of broken animal skulls, joined together on some amalgamation of flesh. Dimitri gazes into the beast, and it seems the beast gazes back. The beast asks Dimitri, shall we starve together? Dimitri's eyes grow
Trying to make
impossibly
sure I
wide
get
and
this
the screen
ink.
is painted red. As you can imagine, it seems none of them will make it out of these woods. One brief flash we see with the text, shall we starve together, is of this Wendigo creature drawn similarly to Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. That symbolism in itself is loud enough. The idea that this creature is of some different heritage, some history or base form that we've long forgotten. But another symbol here is the position of the creature's arms. As the beast has 3 heads, in the image it seems to also have 2 sets of arms, 2 pointed down and 2 pointed up. To me, this seems reminiscent of one of the most popular positions in satanic and pagan iconography, that being the symbol of as above, so below. The phrase as above, so below traces its origins back to about the 9th century, the phrase itself originating from the Emerald Tablet. However, in the millennia that would follow, as above, so below began to take on an occultist meaning. The full phrase that is most commonly used now is as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. This
Oh, he's
indicates
back?
that
Yep.
every individual is a part of the collective. And
Really
spiritual
want to
are
start
microcosms
streaming
are
more
of
often.
macrocosms, or in other words, the unseen
Like,
realm of the spiritual that we inhabit. Practices have taken that phrase and inverted it based on things found in biblical
one,
scripture,
I'm
for instance. When Jesus
trying
said,
to
as on earth, so it is in heaven.
do
Some point to passages like that as evidence of a continuity between the different realms of existence. So in other words, as it applies to witchcraft, and this will be relevant later in the Oakburn Opus story, the powers of heaven, hell, life, and death, eternity, and oblivion can be harnessed by those who are willing. This is why the phrase gets tied a lot into things like paganism or Satanism, because typically the underlying belief within realms of witchcraft or satanic worship is that the forces in question want to share their power with humanity. Instead of us merely being a part of the macrocosm, they want to give us the ability to manipulate it. Because of this, you'll often see depictions of figures like Baphomet or Lucifer doing the as above, so below pose with their hands. It's effectively Prometheus bringing the gift of fire to man, a power we weren't supposed to inherit, but is being offered to us by a more powerful entity. At least if you view the gift fondly. If you don't view the gift fondly and instead think that this promise leads to damnation, then it's more so the apple that the serpent used to trick Eve in the garden.
in the
I could
rooms?
be
Yep,
completely off on
Clark
the
is
connection between the
definitely
as above, so below imagery and the Wendigo from the story, but I think the pose from the image as well as
spoilers.
the or the offering pose at the same time,
Yeah.
shall we start together,
Doesn't get
pulls us
out.
something more than just a monster in the woods. From Dimitri's eye, it seems that he's been transformed.
Showing
The
you
other
did
pose,
earlier?
the creature's face,
Yes.
must have taken. After this,
You will say, I
Something
definitely
moves in
like
front of it.
how kind of came out.
Something moves in front of it. We then see someone's eyes once
Agree.
again. This time they're clouded, filled with something. Now this could be Alex.
But yeah,
Dimitri.
just for any of
Personally,
the
I think this is Dimitri because it's Dimitri's eyes that we've seen up until this point.
other
Or perhaps Alex,
chatters
who
who haven't seen it
wandered out
yet.
in the cold the night before, only to die in the wilderness. Assuming this is Dimitri, Dimitri asks, "Where are my eyes?" Down the hallway of the cabin, he seems to get a response. "You won't starve alone." To which the monster lights a candle, and we see his visage lit at the end of the hall. The monster is in the cabin with Dimitri, but he doesn't want to kill him. Instead, as he offered, he just wants to starve together. After this, time ticks by. January 1st, Dimitri on the
I'm
bed,
thinking of
Dimitri
selling
won't
these as
starve
prints.
alone. January 5th, the same. Let me go. The 13th, you won't
So
starve alone. The
if
29th,
anyone's
you won't starve
interested
alone. Let me go.
potentially
Dimitri
buying
shuts
one.
his eyes, and the video ends. For one, I think the starving five is an excellent
Right.
adaptation of the Wendigo. It builds off the idea of the Wendigo being a spirit drawn from
We want to
cannibalism,
start a
eternal
store.
starvation because of its sin. But Red Diamond takes that further and says it's not just a creature that wants to kill you, it's a creature that wants you to feel what it feels. If it must starve, it doesn't want to do so alone. It seems the only reason that it killed the other people in the cabin was to have Dimitri alone. So the two of them, as it says, can starve together. It's a haunting adaptation of the creature, given the creepy visuals and the occult influence. I love it. Now both of the VHS tales on their own are interesting, and both of them will connect to the greater Oak story later, but for now, there's already one connection we have between the two. The missing person posters were flashing right before Dimitri gave in to the creature's influence. During the flash, we get the full names of the four characters. Dimitri Olov, Alex Lebedev, Natasha's name has been marked out, but Gary's full name is Gary Astor. This is the same name of Ethan and Martha in the last story, The Circles. So seemingly, Gary was related in some way, perhaps Ethan's brother. So with this subtle connection between
Probably.
the two, it seems their worlds are connected. The world of The Circles is right next door to the world of this Wendigo. But as you're going to see, these all tie in as just fractions of elements from the Oakburn Opus story. Now that we've talked about the first VHS tales, we can get into that story. So let's dive into what is currently a four-part series that is, in my opinion, one of the best on YouTube, with Oakburn Opus Part 1. At the beginning of Oakburn Opus Part 1, we open on a shot of Lake Oakburn. Text appears on screen that tells us this is 1997, and the old Oakburn population vanished overnight. This probably sounds similar to a Tosevik in The Circles, as an event happened and then people who were in the town disappeared. This also tells us what the title of the series means. Oakburn, or Old Oakburn, is the name of the town, and opus is the Latin word for a work or project. You've heard the word before, magnum opus, referring to the superb or best
Yeah,
work
no,
of the
nothing
collection.
too
So
expensive.
Oakburn opus implies there was some grand work being done in this town. And now, in 2024, information about the case has been leaked. We'll get hints as to who might have done this leak later on. We then see the image of what appears to be a stone monument. Text says that a new light has been shed on the case.
But let me show you what else I've also got. So I've got Clark right here.
This is a symbol that will be very important through the
All right,
rest of
I'm
the
just
series.
doing the
What
ink.
we are about to see is based on
I also had planned doing the red woman.
of the town and cassette tape that recorded the moment in which everyone
That.
vanished. From here we get our title card, Oakburn Opus Part 1.
And
which I've got to say,
gonna
Red
eventually
Diamond kills
do
with the aesthetics of the series.
Captain
Like the VHS tapes
Clark
we
or
did so far,
Pirate
really,
Clark.
don't get me wrong, but Oakburn Opus nails it.
And
Become more apparent
I
in
got,
later parts,
I
especially
guess,
when
Mary's
it's part 2,
copy.
coolest moment I've seen on YouTube porn ever. We start with our first piece of evidence, Oakburn
And
Studios.
I'm gonna
From
do a
here,
little
we see this
thing
hologram.
with Indigo crashing out on Kane. But yeah.
A man stands in the midst of this cold wasteland. Large horns grow from his head, and the only sound that accompanies him are the mysterious chords.
All right.
At the beginning, it said that a lot of what we're about to see comes from a manuscript from one of the residents of the town. So, assuming that's who this is from the perspective of, they began to tell us about the flutist. On a cold morning, the outsider stumbled upon our gates, and quickly became a welcome guest through the sweet and captivating melody of his flute. My people brought him into our village, a secluded place west of the Atosavik Mountains. And if it wasn't apparent enough, this gives old Oakburn a connection to Atosavik, mentioned in the Circles. We provided the flutist food, water, and shelter. In return, the man continued to enchant our people with the tunes of the winds. After this, we see images of the manuscript itself. Children adored him, soothed by the melodic blows. Men and women respected him for the great entertainment and happiness.
Also, I've been wanting to do
the more
a lot
humble,
more
the flutist was a grateful reformer.
illustration.
And then we see, drawn within the manuscript, the symbol once more. This is the same
Very
symbol
much,
we saw
yeah, I've
on the
been
monument a moment ago. We'll get a better look at it later.
kind of
but now
wanting
it
to
seems
do
be a sigil
for illustrate.
something. We then see depictions of this flutist.
Just because
Flutist
animation
with
takes so
the
much.
once again with the horns rising off of its head. People gathered around to hear the music.
It's
filled
kind of
with songs,
a
enchanting them with comfort.
one-off
So
thing.
much so,
Like
once
the thing
again,
about
this
animation
symbol
is you get really good at
is
drawing the
hundreds
same
of
characters
reality.
and
Impossible to breathe
they're
beyond
kind of
existence. Keep looking.
distinct.
Do not follow the melody. After this, we leave the photos of the manuscript, and once again are presented text.
But sometimes you just want to make
The adapted to our
one
customs,
solid
ate and drank from our kitchen,
picture.
hummed our chants, and honored our altars
Times.
without ever voicing a single thought.
So
Flutist
I think
used the wind as his words and
that
melodies as
kind
his
of
speech. The manuscript then shows us a sort of poem. Within the wind, within the
flashes
wind, it hit fangs. Within the wind, it reached our spirits.
You do have
Within the
to, I
wind,
think,
the flute buried the veil. You then see images of the manuscript, and it's labeled Evidence 1, Handwritten Records, Author Unknown, recovered by Martha Astor, 2002. First of all, we have the flutist, a figure who never spake, but his music seemed to enchant the people who would listen. They were given a peace and comfort from his song, and that's all they needed to bring him into their fold. Several of his details, how he speaks with the wind, the drawings, and the people around him seem to have a dreamlike quality. It's as if he brought with him a trance that laid amongst the town. But what's interesting is the mention that this was recovered by Martha Astor. Martha Astor, if you'll remember, is the wife of Ethan Astor, the main character and victim from The Circles. It says that Martha recovered this in 2002, which was 16 years after the death or circle amalgamation death thing that happened to her husband. So perhaps after what happened to Ethan, Martha became interested in the paranormal and the things that went bump in the night around this region. So she becomes an investigator, and in 2002 finds these records after the population of Old Oakburn disappears. We'll be seeing a lot more of Martha later, but just know for now that she's a character in this story and ties in Old Oakburn to The Circles. From here we get evidence 2, the aforementioned cassette tape, which is labeled Magnum Opus. Like I said, Oakburn Opus refers to the idea that there was a work to be performed in this town. So if this cassette tape and the disappearance is called the Magnum Opus, then perhaps this is what the flutist was always getting to. Text says that in 1997, the great flutist of Old Oakburn announces the completion of his Magnum Opus. A presentation is set to happen Friday night at Lake Oakburn. Hundreds of men, women, and children gather near the lake in anticipation. And then the cassette tape lets us hear what that sounded like. As the crowd is speaking, the flutist begins to play, and as he concludes, the people cheer. We're then shown that monument once more, only this time, the symbol begins to glow. A red haze appears around it and begins to pulsate. Text tells us to identify, interpret, and
You know what
follow.
else
Press
I've
down,
also,
right upside down,
I don't know if
begins
it's
to appear
just me,
in
but
haze
I've
forms
been
stone, and the text continues with the music. Meaning the
really
entire phrase,
excited to
identify,
just
interpret, and follow the music. And then we see this.
often. I don't know. I think maybe there's just because there's like a recent kind of you have like actual film.
From this, we see this symbol made up
Interesting,
of
or like
First,
kind of
on
worth
the
going
right,
to
we
see.
triangles, the triangles facing each other, we see circles, then finally the completed image of 9 upside-down triangles within a circle.
Yeah, there's
This
actually a
visually
couple of
seems to
movies
be
I
a
really.
sigil. A sigil, in its
There
literal definition,
is.
is a seal or a symbol that is meant to denote something. A king can have a sigil, an estate or a family can have a sigil. Effectively, a crest that can be placed on something to identify it as theirs. Well, in the realm of the occult, sigils can often represent different concepts or entities.
One of the things I really
Sigils
wanted.
are made to ensure protection or fortune, but in many cases, and as in the case
There's
of
this
series,
Chinese
an identifier or an entity.
Curious,
Effectively like their name.
kind of a classic
It's
action
something. In
flick.
ritual, sometimes an entity sigil will be drawn to some entity. Like if you were wanting to perform a rite to bring about a demon or a spirit, you would draw their sigil in the midst of your worship. Or sometimes the entity will place its own sigil on something to identify its handler. And if it's not apparent enough already, the sigil we see here is that of the flutist. And that makes sense. The flutist did something to make everyone.
I think there's a movie with.
That a monument by the lake would have his sign on it. There is a significance to the symbol itself, to the 9 triangles.
Movie coming out called
We'll talk about that later.
I forget what it is,
Now,
but starring Sam Rockwell and
images of the wilderness. One image will display the sigil, while the other does not. This continues for a while.
John Malkovich, and that looks really.
We saw earlier. Identify, interpret, and follow. Since we know the sigil to denote the flutist, it seems that what we're seeing here is following the path to
Yeah.
Perhaps this is what.
I don't know. I feel like there's some really good movies out there.
The flutist couldn't speak, right? But instead they felt his presence. They were led in the direction he wanted them to go. The last split decision we see is interesting. On one side we see Lake Oakburn, and on the other we see this tall horned figure, head of which once again appears to be a stag skull. Also, the sigil chooses Lake Oakburn on the right. I think that what we see on the left is.
I think the movie is. Coming out soon. It's Wild Horse 9, I think, out. So I really want to go see that. Chinese. No. The Furious. It's a movie that's coming out this week. But it's basically. I wouldn't say it's a Chinese John Wick. It's more like. I mean, it's similar in the sense that it's like an action movie, but it's like a working class guy basically gets his daughter kidnapped and he's trying to rescue her. Also, some other guy whose wife is kidnapped and whatnot. So it's a Chinese action film. So I really want to. Yeah, that's my bad. I might not used. I really want to see The Furious. Wild Horse 9 looks good. Okay, it's in new theaters. That's miles away. Actually, and there's the I think Studio Lekara movie. Sounds like a good movie. I mean, I really want to get this week. Yeah, no, and then there's the Wildwood. That's coming out in October. That's the new stop motion movie by Lycra. That one I'm really excited to see. I actually saw the Backrooms twice in theater. That. I don't care about Disclosure Day. I don't find it. Oh. I think those are the movies that I. Curious, Wild Horse 9, and Wildwood. Yes. Yeah, I all of those movies haven't been released. Definitely want to get theaters. Yeah. I don't know. I've been on a bit of a movie theater dire, I guess. Actually, like see a film. Directed, I guess. I also think a part of it is just, I guess, like obviously with the Backrooms, my generation. Yes, I would highly recommend. So for Smith, because there's two. So Backrooms types of like the kind of fan stuff where you have like the Smilers, Watchdogs, varying levels. That's all like the kind of fan stuff. Whereas King Pixels is like Smilers and like the variety of levels. So I would highly recommend watching this. I did, if you want to watch my life, I also watched the Backrooms after. Um, but and if you're maybe confused on anything after seeing this, I would highly recommend Coon's video where he breaks down all the analysis of it, and I think that he had out soon. Hopefully it comes out soon. But highly recommend the actual series on YouTube. After that, I would recommend Nagoon's analysis of it. Job. Yes. Yeah, I think I don't know how much Backrooms is. I ticket. I think Thursday is the last day to. I would highly recommend. At least. Oh no, it's well, at least for my area, it's going until the 18th. So I would highly recommend going to see it out of theaters. I will say. So it's one of those movies you have to see. It's so good. It feels like an act. That's the best way I can describe it. It feels like I'm actually watching a movie, not like for lack of a better term, about it. But yes, I don't know if I would give it like out of 10. I definitely give it. I would not give it anything. I'd give it like but it was a very good movie. Oops, sorry about that. Accidentally. Water bottles.
You'll remember in the starting five, it said this cabin they were in was outside of town. I think this is again another clue to us that the two stories take place in the same world. You drift into the woods on a dark night and you can go to Lake Oakburn, where the Flutist Magnemopus is taking place, or you can continue through the woods and come across the monster. And the monster just being one of many things that can go wrong here. This time when we get to Lake Oakburn, both images have the sigil, this time glowing red. As we look off into the fog, we see the flutist, his hands rising through the void, as his flute continues to play louder and louder. And as we get closer, our camera begins to distort, but in the brief glimpse we get of him, this is not a peaceful keeper of the town, but instead, some sort of monster. Once everyone had gathered at the lake and heard his song, their fate was sealed. And we hear that in the cassette tape.
But I'm sick and I feel bad for my friend. No, that can definitely suck. But yeah, I definitely keep an eye on like hit times, dungeons.
Little evidence was found. The existence and whereabouts of the flutist
But
remained
it does suck.
That was until 2003. Search for Old Oakburn's population continues.
I hope you get better though.
Part 1 ends.
Remember to eat your chicken soup, drink lots of water.
This all seemed to be a ploy that eventually led them to the lake, and then they vanished. The rest of the series will
get as much sleep as you can. Sleep is vitally important. Getting better from. I don't know what you're sick from, but if it's just like a loose stuff or something. But yeah, definitely sleep and water or two.
It said nothing was really known about the disappearance until 2003. Well, we see what that was referring to, as in the beginning of part 2, we're told that this is set in 2003, 25 miles from Lake Oakburn at the Lebedev residence. Lebedev is once again a reference to the starting five, as in the missing persons poster we saw that Alex's full name was Alex Lebedev. So somehow Alex was related to this residence. It's also just really effective how Red Diamond can use so many different means to get across the terror in his story. Like, yeah, the flutist looks scary and a lot of the sigil images can be creepy, but in the beginning of this one, we just see a house and hear 2 gunshots that come from within. There's so many unanswered questions in this series, and we see this moment, and our mind races as to what could be going on. Why is this residence suddenly important to us? Is this the event in 2003 that shed more light on the disappearance? Red Diamond does a great job of asking you questions every time you're out on your front foot. You think you understand how the flutist works, you think you understand the sigils connected to him, and he made these people disappear.
I tell you what though, sometimes just
relevant, but we don't know how yet. And it's that intrigue and mystery that keeps the series so creepy, because you never know what it's going to show next. After we hear the gunshots, text appears on screen, this time in red, that says, "I stood upon their blood. I stood upon the weapon. I stood before the flute, and the drowned city rose beneath my feet." Now, we can assume things there like the blood in the weapon refer to whoever was just killed and the gunshots we've heard, and the flute can tie into the flutist, but the mention of the drowned city is something new to us. We know something happened at Lake Oakburn, so it probably connects to that, but beyond that, we have no answers. What I really like about this line is it becomes so impactful after you finish the series, but for now, it means nothing. And it goes to show how much of this series was planned from the start. There were pieces of it planned over a year ago that were only elaborated on a few months ago. I just like to see when creators plan a series out and then satisfyingly follow through on it. We then see photographs of the crime scene. The jacket the investigator is wearing says IPD, or Etosavic Police Department. In part 1, when we were seeing the sigil appear on either image that was leading us closer to the lake, one of the images had a cop car that had IPD on it. So this tells us that the Etosavic Police Department is the department that's over Old Oakburn. The timestamp at the bottom of the picture says that this took place on December 10th of 2003. As the photographs move to the interior, text says, "The melody crawls in. The voice under the veil commands, and the vessel answers." Again, things that don't mean anything to us yet, but will later. The melody, the voice, and the vessel. We then see another cassette tape, this one labeled The Lebedev Murders. We hear who is assumedly the killer laughing as red text once again appears on screen. To make it easier to understand, I'll tell you now that anytime we see red text, it's from the perspective of the flutist or something on the flutist's side or under his control. And the text we're about to see is from the Lebedev murderer. "What stands before you, Detective Astor? It's not a person. I exist incarcerated in a vessel of the arcane. I will entertain your feeble sense of justice. I will share you my tale." And text appears that says, "He knows well his wicked ways." This phrase, "he knows well his wicked ways," is also the description.
Everyone's Tuesday night going so far.
Sylvia, a song that we'll play at the end of this video. The Boy with the Gun is a song about a man who feels he's been scorned by life and begins to hate life around him. Someone so bitter with the world, he wants to take the rest of the world with him. As we'll see later, this line, when applied to the flutist, is fitting. And then we get the opening title card, which, look how cool this is. A lot of the aesthetics from this series match some of my favorite horror projects. The kind of light blue-gray text that appears, like the one that just said "He knows well his wicked ways," reminds me of Alan Wake. Not only because of its font and style, but because of the graininess of it all, how several parts of the series feel like they're taken from an old cop drama. And then something like the bright red letters reminds me of Longlegs, another horror story about a series of killings that ultimately ties into the occult. Red Diamond may not have used any of those as inspiration for the story, but I think it's telling that getting a little hint of those influences brings out the greater influences I see in this series and other major horror projects. There's just so much passion behind the aesthetics and so many little moments in the series, it feels far more substantial.
Good, but tired, but good. Well, that's good.
They want that. I don't know. And this is further emphasized by the next scene. I mean, look at this. You've got a series of cop cars
Good to
driving
know.
through dark country at night as this red grainy text appears above.
Just out of curiosity, do you guys, I'm trying to bring more, but you guys prefer kind of like closer to nighttime, earlier than
I would say is really great.
I don't want to do stuff that's like,
I've got to make a video about this. The red text reads, and also
I'd like to go to bed, very least by like,
speaking, and that's true when it's dialed.
how's your night going? It's going well, it's going well. Summer so far has been really good.
So I'm still mostly right about what I just said. The red text is the flutist talking, just not this time. I'm still right. I'm just wrong right now. December 10th, call is made to the Etosavic Police Department from the Lebedev household.
Good.
Having
Release a new video today.
Oliver Lebedev were dead. Their bodies lined in the dark room.
My pocket, I guess.
Naturalist photographers of Etosavic searched to capture the empty landscape of the mountains. The criminal was never identified. For the convenience of this investigation, the killer will be addressed by the pseudonym John Doe. And then we lead into evidence 3, the Lebedev murders. This also further establishes everything we've seen so far as being part of this ongoing investigation. Evidence 1 being the manuscript, evidence 2 being the magnum opus or the cassette tape of the disappearance, and now evidence 3, the 2003 murders. It then says that what we're about to see is a timeline based on the interrogatory of John Doe, conducted and recorded by Detective Martha Astor in 2003. This lines up with some things we've seen so far. We know Martha Astor recovered the manuscript in 2002, and that makes sense if she's now a detective. And in the dialogue we heard from the killer before the title card, it seemed she was speaking directly to Martha Astor, or Detective Astor. So after the death of her husband, Martha committed herself to the paranormal, or at least figuring out whatever's wrong in the region, and became a detective at the Etosavic Police Department. And the killer of the Lebedevs knew her. Perhaps the killer himself knew her, or perhaps the flutist just has supernatural.
And I think towards the end of June, a lot more like,
based on the conversation with Martha Astor,
because
December 5th, 2003, John Doe is led by the melody
I was to myself for
emanating from Lake Oakburn. Of course, with everything we understand so far, this makes sense. The flutist is at Lake Oakburn, and he lures people in with this song. However, this is interesting because, again, this is in 2003, 6 years after everyone disappeared at the lake. So 6 years later, the flutist is still there, luring people in. We see a quick flash of the flutist sigil, and we're once again taken to the landscape around Lake Oakburn. We then get another title card, but this one says Segment 1, Conditioning. So why are there now different segments, and what is being conditioned? Well, we're given a hint as we get the first-person perspective of someone walking across a snowy bridge. At the end of this clip, it seems a figure begins to arise out of the fog. Going back to information John Doe gave Astor, he says, "From the very first moment the flute touched my mind, I was sure to have been struck by something otherworldly, roaming the depths of the lake." Near the lake, John Doe encounters a monolith on the surface of the smooth rock. A symbol was carved, a circle, and 9 triangles. Again, this all makes sense. The flutist is luring this John Doe killer in, and the flutist brings him to the monolith. With the sigil, we've seen many times at this point. So perhaps this conditioning we're witnessing, this first-person perspective we saw of someone going across the bridge, was our killer being conditioned to the flutist's control. Right after this, we see a sigil flash, but this time, it's a different one. For a brief instance, instead of 9 triangles in a circle, we see a triangle surrounded by 9 circles. It is presented upright and then quickly upside down, only for a couple frames. I mean, there's obviously a connection between the previous sigil. One was 9 triangles in a circle, this is 9 triangles in a triangle, but why is it different now? What could that mean? Could the symbol be indicating another entity that's out here? John Doe,
I think the only thing about during the day is that people are using work.
And the man. They taught me wisdom from the bottom of the lake, drowned city, and the millions who rest there. He raised me in that instant as a vessel. So once again, the flutist sigil flashes on screen, interlaced with an up-close image of someone's eyes shut, until as the sigil on the monolith glows, the eye opens. John Doe continues, emblem etched upon the rock. A beautifully profane assortment of a circle and 9 triangles suddenly gleamed in crimson hue. The song wove a web, his desire in an instant made clear. In the flute, I discerned the will of expansion, which I was to provide. Once again, as this segment is being said, the triangle with 9 circles flashes on screen. Text tells us that after the encounter, John wandered the mountain for 5 days, out of his mind and being guided by something. And then on December 10th of 2003, John came across the Lebedev residence. And of course, from there is where the murders took place. So we see what this conditioning was. This man, John Doe, was led to the lake and then brought under the
also had
influence
this
of the
idea.
flutist, an influence that showed him things like the drowned city, the millions who were there. His mind was opened and he was
Trying to do
possessed.
some
With the
other
conditioning phase done, we now move into segment 2.
Podcast, but I
Text
wouldn't
appears on screen that tells us this.
exactly
We see the
where to
flutist standing on
start.
top of the hill with assumedly John Doe in front of him. The rope behind John Doe makes it appear as if he's on puppet strings, being controlled by the flutist wind. It also appears in his hand that he has a pickaxe or some kind of tool. He continues through the woods and again, as we know now, comes across the Lebedev residence. John Doe continues. It's uncommon for many inhabitants of remote areas and hidden places to forget their front doors unlocked. Naive custom, often conditioned by the emptiness surrounding it. More words from John Doe appear, but this time
Not at the moment, but
when we wait for the scroll to end, if we read it together, it says, "Through the window, I beheld his lichen shape. The spectre whispered, in evoking horror, his unfathomable name, Marvius." The images that are shown to us at the same time is of someone standing in the top floor of the Lebedev home and then looking outside. Specifically, standing in what seems to be the dark room of the home where we know the Lebedev brothers were murdered. I don't know why a dark room would have a window, but whatever. So it seems that once John Doe killed the brothers, he looked outside and saw the flutist, and almost as a reward for his loyalty, the flutist tells John Doe his true name. It's a big thing within the occult, especially demonology, to know a demon or spirit's true names. That can often reveal their power and their intention. And it seems the flutist's real name is Marvius. This name does have some influence that we're going to talk about later. John Doe continues, a name in the melody. And once again, the name Marvius flashes on screen over and over, timed with the heartbeats that overwhelm the audio. And from the profane blade touched by Marvius's fangs, I cut their eyes open in the dark room. We see an image of Marvius or the flutist sigil drawn in blood. Once again, a seal so that the author of this handiwork may be known. At 11:42, John Doe furtively strikes the Lebedev brothers. Jackson takes a pickaxe hit to the thigh, snapping the femur, and is left debilitated. Oliver drags Jackson to the dark room at gunpoint upon performing a suboptimal tourniquet. We see glimpses of this, a dimly lit hallway with the dark room open. Breathing lays into the mic as a shadowy figure stands in the doorway. Oliver Lebedev, time of death, 12:07. As one of the brothers is standing in the dark room, we see a silhouette attacked by the pickaxe. And again, the blood sigil is shown. We hear the gunshots once again as text says that Jackson Lebedev died at 12:16. And once more, the other seal, the triangle with 3 circles, appears, this time in a bright blue. From here, hypnotic imagery appears again. Circles within squares, within octagons, spinning before us. And John Doe continues, "Oh, Martha, the sole reason I stand before you, narrating my tale, contributing to your futile pursuit of comprehensible truth, is to
are you
command
hearing?
this
Oh, I'm
calls
listening
you to be
to
your good friend, but needs of
that. I am listening. Wendigoon's analysis of horror.
veil. Visit the drowned city. Failure to heed his warning will bring the same fate upon you. And the few living folks you love, you will drown too, as the slowly growing image of the flutist is now burned into the screen. Now, this does something interesting. See, up until this point, we've assumed that Martha's just here because of what happened to Ethan, right? She's become interested in stopping whatever's out here. But now it seems the flutist has an interest in her, to the degree that after John Doe made these killings, the flutist, speaking through him, simply told her to come to the lake. What is Martha that she's so special? The image of the flutist then fades into a body lying in the snow, and another image, this time of something breathing deeply in the corner. We look close, it appears to be the flutist or some other spirit. Right before we cut, opens his arms. Something important to note here is when this creature opens his arms, he seems to have 6. This is very similar, even if not the exact same creature, to the Wendigo from the starting 5. Perhaps this is a be similar, or perhaps it's just a flutist that can manipulate his form. After this, we hear the cassette tape with John Doe laughing once again, and the song "The Boy with a Gun" begins to play. We then get an overhead shot of the police returning after the investigation. Finally, text says, in defiance of John's alleged method of murder, the bodies of Jackson and Oliver were found in contradictory conditions. Agents at the scene first observed vascular marbling, skin discoloration, and bloating in both bodies. An autopsy analysis revealed pulmonary injury, insinuating that drowning was the cause of death. With that, part 2 ends. You see what I mean? Every time we start to get a grasp on something, something else is
Oh,
killing
okay.
us. We hear the drowned city, and that's surprising at first.
Gotcha.
And think about it, and okay, everyone disappeared at the lake, and there's millions under it. Perhaps that means bodies. So sure, it all has something to do with the lake. But then we saw the gunshots in the beginning, and we saw the image of the pickaxe hitting the Lebedevs in their home. So then how did they drown? Sure, we can connect them going out there to something to do with the drowned city and the flutist, but how did that relate to them being murdered in the dark room? How does Martha Astor connect all of this? What did the flutist want? Why did he want the Lebedevs dead? And of course, at the base of all of it, what happened to the 1,034 people of Oakburn? The series has so many fascinating ideas, and it does such a great job of conveying them. If you're like I am, then by this point you're hooked with the aesthetics, with the plot, with the storytelling elements, with the horror elements. I just love how well done the whole thing is, and hopefully you do too at this point. So without further ado, let's get into part 3. At the beginning of part 3, the black screen fades in to a light blue hue. The noises around us imply that we're underwater, looking up at the sun. For a moment, strange chants are heard at the same time before quickly we cut to the point of view, the backseat car sitting on the street of a foggy, empty town. The narration shows up again. The land remains still,
Checking it.
traversed by a tragic silence for over 5 years. Old Oakburn, a village hidden between barren mountains and white woods, in its heart, the depths of the lake. A single road connects the village to its neighbor town, Atosavik. After 5 years of neglect and decrepitude, it has become treacherous, overgrown with weeds and twigs, the path barely visible amidst the snow. I'm here now. I'm home. Today, into those dark depths I must venture, and behold my secret, the very root of my curse. These waters go much deeper. From here we get our introductory Red Diamond Presents, and we see a view of Old Oakburn, abandoned, caked in red. We are now outside of the car. The camera pushes in on the fog in front of us, where it cuts to our title card, Oakburn Opus 3. Again, just so much of the aesthetics of this series kill me. The Silent Hill-esque town, and then the bold letters, and the presentation, and the demonic imagery, and the monsters and everything. This is so up my alley. Sometimes I make videos about conspiracy theories, and sometimes I make videos
I'd love to
about
know.
cases and stuff. And sometimes I just find something I think is really cool, and I want to talk about it. Oakburn Opus is sick. We'll see soon that the narration we were just reading was that from Martha. At the end of part 2, the flutist, John Doe, told her to return. So now she is. Again, Martha is more connected to everything that's been happening than we've been led to believe. We're about to find out why now. In a couple brief flashes after the title card ends, we see images of snakes. Snakes cloaked in a red light. Still, we're told this is in 2002, right before the Lebedev murders and around the time that Martha discovered the manuscript. Now we see text that is taken from Martha's audio journal. Suspiciously, it says that the audio journal was recovered in 2010. This again raises some more questions. If Martha was an investigator in 2002 and 2003, then why wasn't this found until 2010? For now, we get her perspective of what's happening. For For now, all the evidence collected from the 1997 phenomena is abstract, frantic, ambiguous, and reveals the arcane nature of the case. Manuscript findings, diaries, newspaper entries, and the cassette tape depicting the magnum opus. Some of these samples, one notices a strange constant. I believe to have found a promising clue, a line of investigation that will lead me to the truth. After this, we see an image of the flutist. This image seems to be a picture that was taken sometime far in the past, the face of which has been burned out. Martha continues, or perhaps condemn me to the most horrible perversity. A monolith, raised in the woods that surround the lake. On its surface, etched is the oft-mentioned sigil. The sigil of Marpias. All of that lines up so far with what we've already established. Marpias, the spirit, or the entity, or the demon, or whatever you want to call it, identifies itself by the sigil, and Martha seems to have gotten that far. Crumbly, covered in moss and stained with moisture. The stone, however, reveals a more intriguing nature when analyzed in depth. I found it possible to deduce the monolith's true purpose. A tombstone. Before the monolith, we are likely to find the entrance of the tomb. Which this is an interesting clue. We've been shown the monolith since part 1. Now we're told there might be something under it. Also want to point out, and just typing up how cool some of the visuals are in the series, how well the image works as the text is being displayed. Because we understand the drowned.
No, I have no problem with that. I mean, everyone.
To Old Oakburn is the car driving towards the bottom of the screen from a top-down perspective. But as the car is driving to the bottom of the screen, there are bubbles floating from the bottom to the top of the screen. So while we're literally
That's fair.
driving on a road,
Fair.
it gives the impression of the car traveling underwater. In other words, it's indicative of Martha traveling to the drowned city beneath the lake. Again, just little touches like that add so much. Get more text. This time the camera switches to a rear view of the car, where only illumination is the car's red taillights. Fittingly, red text appears now. Now earlier I said red text typically denotes something that has to do with the flutist, and here Martha's continuing to speak, so it seems I would be wrong again, unless I'm secretly right again, and Martha's connected to the flutist in some way. I will be conducting a solo expedition. I here now ask the department to allow the investigation to be conducted by me and me alone. My roots are here. Our marks share the same curse. His sepulchral depths are mine to explore. For those who may inadvertently stumble upon these discoveries, stay away. Here there are destinies greater than death. And as she says this, the other sigil, the triangle with 9 circles, begins to flash over her car. And also, I mean, once again, just look at this. I mean, it's so good. We're going from the drowned underwater city to on land and the flipping of the stuff. The camera traces through the woods as Martha finds the tombstone. And sure enough, she was right. There's a doorway beneath it. Snake flashes for an instant before we are shown segment 1, titled Necropolis, or in other words, the city of the dead. So if the drowned city is beneath the lake, then in this forest next to the lake, the doorway down connects to it, or at least connects to something related to the drowned city. John Doe described the millions that are housed down there. Perhaps this is the necropolis that Martha's stepping into now. Martha steps down into this cave and her narration continues. Upon prying open the tomb's entrance, it revealed a vertical descent of absolute darkness, a pit that reached the depths of the earth, and from said pit, a horrible smell. Putrid, rotten miasma rushed to the surface. Despite the exaltations, I pressed forth, began the descent. As she does, we see the door behind her shut. However far she's come, there's no turning back now. Martha continues through this rotting, stinking hole. As she does, we see that the ceilings, walls, and floors are covered in triangle imagery. Geometry whose importance has been made evident at this point. Whatever's down here is something far older than old Oakburn. As Martha presses forward, she says, black moss covered the walls, forever damp. The smell of fish carcasses, putrid scales, disappearing into the ossuary. A gentle walk, cursed ruins. To meet what roam the ancient grounds. Our sigils burned in proximity. That last sentence is interesting. What does she mean, our sigils burned in proximity? Does she mean the towns? Does she mean the flutist? How would she know if they're burning? How does she know so much about these sigils in the first place? She continues. The pungent abyss of the mortuary dragged me to secrets long forgotten, to disrupt knowledge better left unseen, to terrible familiarity. Repressed memories of times of wrath afflicted me in short flashes. The terrible burden, this obsession, being dragged to things occult. Ethan, is this how you felt? This is the first time Martha has made any mention of Ethan, and here it's fitting. She is in the depths of whatever this nature is, whatever these creatures, whatever this world truly is. And she's compelled to go deeper in spite of the fear, in spite of the horribleness of what she's stepping into. Much like how Ethan, for some reason, had to stay for the circles. She continues forward, occasionally passing suspicious marks on the ground that seem to be blood, perhaps the remnants of someone or some ritual. Eventually she stops, and it seems someone is standing at the end of the hallway. This thing speaks to her and says, behold my necropolis. The sigil of the flutist flashes, and he is standing before her. The walls around her now baked in a glowing red. Same red the sigil burns, while surrounding them are the screams of the damned. Skulls, heat, and fire seem to emanate around them. This necropolis, this city, seems little more than hell. The physical realm, the realm of the rotting bodies that Martha was in earlier, seems to have faded away for its true nature. Damnation of souls lost to the flutist. Martha comes to a door. When she's at the door, eyes in the walls glare back at her. On the door itself seems to be a massive, still beating heart. The only thing to be found here is suffering. Martha steps through the door and then sees windows that appear to look out into the bottom of the lake. In front of the window is a sort of tabernacle. The tabernacle itself having the inscription of a deer.
To be honest, I've never.
A book stamped with the sigil of Marpias. Martha reads it, and we're presented with evidence for the first book will appear later in the series. First image we see shows us the sigil of Marpias once again. This time a sort of hidden geometry within it is made more known. Circles within the points, triangles, and angles drawn amidst them. More elaborate and detailed name than that we are normally familiar with. As we look at the first page of the book, we see this. Marpias begins to rise from the water as he speaks, long after the wrathful times, when the serpent's tongue no longer hissed. The drowned artist, Marpias, rises. As Marpias stands, we get our first good look at him. The horns and the goat-like ears we've come to expect thus far. However, his mouth and his low-set eyes seem to be of something different, perhaps some other animalistic amalgamation. His body seems to be covered in a coarse hair, and his feet taper off into hooves. The book continues as his sigil is seen, risen from the pungent water, carrying the darkness of those eldritch depths. Throughout the section, several Latin words will appear. I'm going to say the Latin word and then its translation. Here it says tenebrae aeternae, which means eternal darkness. The burning ember boils within the dark fire. Maligni, or evil, servant to a certain viper's sin. Dies irae, or day of wrath. A trade, a price was paid. His kin, spared from the gloom of the lake, and now his flesh in torment laid. The images of snakes are shown to us once more. The text continues. Rise, a call from beyond the veil, roaming the last ring. Face the fire, Peccatum tomb, or your sin, his wail. Marpias descended the mountain's height, forever white and glamorous, seeking the land of light. The city of snow where once 2 miracles were born from divine glow. The people of the city, the florid orange sunrise, were to soon regret their pity. For the wind hid fangs, and the maw of the drowned city opened, under his arcane chance. To swallow the accursed soil, roar the fire from 9 circles, and let the water boil. He will drown them ad tenebris, or to darkness. Into the drowned city, the gloom of the lake, forever breathing necropolis. And with that segment segment 1 ends, we head into segment 2, reunion. So, that was a lot of info that gives us a whole lot to work with. I'm going to save most of it for after we've covered the videos in the series, because this will make more sense once we have Marv P.S. Book 1. But from what we've seen so far, there was a bargain made and Marv P.S. arose to gather more people into this drowned city. It can be inferred up until this point that Marv P.S. and the forces at play here are far older than the town, and that's made evident by some of the stuff that we hear that seems to be in far history. When the serpent's fangs were cooled, how there were 2 miracles born from this land. And that's also seen in some of the imagery we saw in the background while the text was being read. There were depictions of flute players, artists, and most notably, of the Pied Piper, the medieval German legend of a flute player who arrives to town and takes all the children with him. Something that obviously has some connection to Oakburn's magnum opus. Again, we'll talk about a lot of what we just read later, but for now, we're into the reunion. I mean, segment 1 was an Acropolis, and we saw that for the hell it was. So if we're about to get into a reunion, what's it a reunion of? What 2 things are coming back together? It's been apart for some time. Also notice here with segment 2 being called reunion and getting that gray text with the line that drops off. I mentioned earlier how similar this is to Alan Wake, but it is really similar to Alan Wake 2, down to elements of another world or the dark place emanating from beneath the lake within the town, and things coming out of this place to lure people into it. That's not a diss to the series saying I just took it from Alan Wake. I just like both series. We're then taken back to Martha's perspective reading the book. She's on the last page of the series of poems we read. Once again, we can see Marv P.S., his sigil, and the serpent. The serpent that's been alluded to a few points up until now, or the viper's sin is mentioned in the poem. One we haven't seen yet, but we will in a moment. For now, Martha comes across something much more alarming, as the next page of the book says her name, and around her name is the sigil of the triangle and the 9 circles. Then the book speaks to her directly. Will you behold me? Turn to me. Thou shalt hear the serpent utter through thy brother's mouth. Martha then looks up from the book and begins to turn around, which, I have to say, first time I watched this, absolutely terrifying. To see all that, to know how powerful Marv P.S. is, to know that there is an entity even greater than him called the serpent. And with all the questions we have, to see the book speak to her and then say, turn around, behold me, hear the serpent speak through your brother's mouth. So I'm going to pause again right here to say, if you have not watched the series for yourself, do not let me ruin moments like this for you. Go to the link in the description, watch the channel, and then come back, because it is not worth losing moments like these that seem so far so few nowadays. Stories like this are really worth savoring. Martha turns and looks through the catacombs. Darkness awaits her at the end. Something else. Shapes begin to mirror themselves out of the center of her image. Shapes of scales and something ancient, till she sees a scaly hand standing in the darkness. Martha looks, and for a brief moment, we see Marv P.S. as he truly is. Not covered in hair and fur as we might have seen thus far, but instead covered in scales. His arms and torso look like that of a snake's, and his head looks like that of a fish. He's not just some satyr creature of old folklore. He's forever been a disciple of this drowned tomb. I love this reveal. Through all the imagery we've seen of the flutist thus far, he looks like a goat man. Something covered in fur, standing in darkness, typical of like satyr or minotaur imagery. But when we see his true form, he's forever been something tied to the drowned city. Something cursed with scales and features of fish. Whatever this viper is, he's been transformed into its form. Rather than a beast of power invoking satanic imagery, this seems to be more of a curse. It seems that he's trapped in this form as much as he traps others in the drowned city. And from here, Marv P.S. speaks to her. And here you are, entrapped within my shadow. Fear not. Contain your shivers, for there are horrors beyond my rot. Our bane, our sigils, our blood and roots are shared. And as Marv P.S.'s sigil flashes, the sigil in Martha's eye flashes as well, and she finishes his thought. An eternal bond. Marv P.S. continues. Shall us recall those times? Or have you grown to abhor your very nature? The your of the sentence quickly changing to our very nature. Martha says, like earth itself. Marv P.S. continues. Those wrathful days, as I held your lifeless corpse. In that lake, I communed with beings far beyond. I contested death itself. Welcome to vile force, to bathe this land in blasphemy. Damn me to those depths. Martha says, to choke for eons. Marv P.S. says, a fragmented form, rotten. I reside within. The text from the book appears once again. It says, thou shalt hear the serpent utter through thy brother's mouth. As the serpent appears on screen. It seems after this, we see just that, as the serpent speaks through Marv P.S. And my dead throat shall cast upon this earth the fires of 9 circles, to the land that plunged me into darkest pits, to blazing marble, to the drowned city so below. And those who skin the lungs of mine will scream into the void, for eons far beyond. The name of that beast. The beast that sung Marv P.S. Images of the series flash before us. The flutist on the lake shore. 1034 disappeared. And right now, you probably have a lot of questions. How is Marv P.S. or the flutist or whatever he is Martha's brother? How does Martha know about this in the first place? What do the sigils mean? Well, it seems through the rest of the book we get some clarification on that right now. Martha Ludolf, born 1852. Matthias Ludolf, born 1852, died 1897. Oakburn, established 1897. Its motto being Dies Irae, or Day of Wrath. Its logo being that of a serpent. Martha Astor's Etosovic Police Department badge, and a depiction of the Pied Piper, overlaid, of course, with the flutist sigil. Martha Astor's findings were recovered in mid-2010 and remain classified until 2024. The material shows a direct connection between the detective and old Oakburn's flutist, while also creating doubt on Astor's true identity. And with that, part 3 ends. So all of that is a lot. Let's start with the most important revelation we got at the end. Martha and her brother Madhouse were twins born in 1852. Madhouse died in 1897, but Martha didn't. Martha has been alive for over 150 years. She is just as much a part of what is happening as Marv P.S., as the flutist, as the serpent, as anyone else. We know that the sigil of the 9 triangles in the circle is the flutist, or as we know now,
That was my favorite.
the sigil of the triangle with 9 circles around it.
But she
Martha has her own sigil. That's what she meant by the closer she got, their sigils began to burn together. She knew that she was returning to her brother. But how is her brother the flutist? Well, a lot of this will be explained once we see the book of Marv P.S. part 1. But what we know for now is that according to her brother, when they were speaking there at the end, he at one point held Martha's lifeless body. It seems that she drowned in the lake. So he made a deal with these supernatural, unspeakable powers that be to bring her back, to contend with death, as he said. It seems that whatever deal he made worked, as he was able to trade his life for hers, and death has never found her again. She seems to have been made immortal, or at least ageless, from the time this drowning took place, when she would have been 45 years old. When Madhouse made this bargain, he was transformed into the flutist, a monster made to bring more down to this necropolis, down to this drowned city. His form grotesque and rotting, as we saw and he described. And it seems that the town of Oakburn itself was established in this moment, always intended to be a playground for these powers that be, established on the Dies Irae, or the Day of Wrath. It seems that this power that made Madhouse, or this entity he bargained with, is the serpent, or the viper. There was a time in days past as described when the viper was violent. That age has since left. And now the flutist is made to go out into the world and entice more to come to the lake. I don't know how much control Martha's brother has in this, and frankly, I don't know if he is now Marv P.S. or Marv P.S. is just the entity that lives in him. Madhouse could just be a vessel for this creature. Marv P.S. could also be the name of the serpent, this greater thing that made Madhouse into what he is. It wouldn't break the continuity. When John Doe killed the Lebedev brothers, he said that the entity gave its true name of Marv P.S. Flutist himself may be a victim. Madhouse made to act on these things after he traded his life for his sister's. Or perhaps he's become corrupted as well, content to take on his role as a persecutor. As he says to Martha almost accusingly, have you grown to hate our very nature? Perhaps he's right where they want to be. I mean, when she drowned, he knew in some way to speak to these entities to bring her back. Perhaps he knew exactly what he was getting into all along. We also get that mention again at the end that Martha's findings weren't found until mid-2010. This was in 2002, and we know that after this, she went to investigate the Lebedev murders. So she didn't disappear here when she went to the necropolis. If the end visuals we see where we're backtracking out of it are any indication, after she spoke to her brother, she left. So why then were her findings not found until mid-2010? And then, as it says, why were they classified until 2024? It seems whoever's documenting this, perhaps the police station or some other investigator, is seeing what we have seen and is beginning to doubt Martha's true identity. During this ending, we also hear the song Death Song by Robbie Basho begin to play. The song is about someone who is ready to meet death and is embracing it almost as a comfort. As a matter of fact, the description for this video that reads, "Towards the midnight sun, I am riding home," is lyrics from the Death Song. With the last song that was used, The Boy with the Gun, I said that would turn out to be indicative of the flutist. And now we start to see how that makes sense. The Boy with the Gun is about someone who's hateful, who despises life, and wants others to suffer because of how they have suffered. And now with everything we've seen with Madhouse up until this point, that makes sense. He committed himself over to this being, became a monstrous figure, and is dragging others to the drowned city. So if that song was indicative of the flutist, then perhaps this song, the Death Song, could be indicative of Martha. It's a song about someone who is waiting for death, who wants it to come for them. Perhaps Martha, seeing what happened to her husband Ethan, a husband who probably had no idea of how long Martha's been alive or of her true nature, and then all the other death and destruction that's happened around her. I mean, she became an investigator seemingly to try to stop this from happening. Perhaps she's ready to end it all, even if that means herself, even if that means her immortality. All of these are questions we'll ask ourselves more of and elaborate more on after our last video. Now, there's technically 2 videos on the channel before this. There's another VHS tale. This one is called A Wasp Nest, and it's a really cool little horror project that again is expertly done with its visuals and storytelling and its pacing. It's about an MK Ultra experiment where the government is trying to convince people to effectively act as mindless drones or a wasp in a wasp nest, and they do it using a flower that only blooms once every 38 years. It seems to have these psychoactive properties, and it's a really cool video. You should go check out for yourself. But as far as I can tell, it doesn't have a connection to the greater Oakburn Opus story. The Starving Five and the Circles did because of the connections we talked about earlier and the fact they're in the same region. But I'm not going to cover A Wasp Nest just to not bog down the pacing of the current storyline we're chasing. However, I highly recommend you check it out. I will have it linked as its own video in the description, because I mean, you got to save something for yourself. Even if you get the whole Oakburn Opus storyline spoiled for you in this video, you can at least go watch his cool MK Ultra horror story. Then after that, there's a trailer for Oakburn Opus, which we'll talk about in a bit. So for now, let's get to what is at this point the most recent upload on the Red Diamond channel, Oakburn Opus Lies. See, this one breaks the part 1, 2, and 3 convention because it's almost a sort of breakaway story. It of course ties into the Oakburn Opus narrative, but it tracks something we haven't really thought about yet. What became of some of the people affected by the 1997 disappearance, and how do they connect to what we've seen so far? Well, we're about to find out right now. Lies opens with the screen fading in. Once again, wind instruments can be heard. We see what appears to be 2 tombstones in the bare terrain. And once again, red text appears. What do you wager? I might win him yet. If you give me your permission first, I'll lead him gently on the road I set. Again, this is red text, and it seems to be a conversation perhaps between Morpheus and the serpent or some other supernatural entity, wagering that he can lead someone down his path. It also invokes musings of the biblical story of Job. When the devil went to God and asked for God's permission to torment Job because he believed Job would turn towards him, the devil. It's not a direct one-to-one, but the phrasing seemed reminiscent. After this, we're shown the inside of someone's home. Someone who it seems is investigating the disappearance at Lake Oakburn. And we see that they're on the right track. Not only do they have the sigils of both the flutist and Martha, but they have images of the Pied Piper as well as several runes. The circle, the 2 inverted triangles, and a line. And on the center of a desk in front of this is a gun. Whoever this is receiving a phone call from Martha. The other artifacts around the phone paint a disturbing picture. He has 2 discounts for funeral services, as well as a gun with 1 bullet. We then see a transcript of the message that Martha left this person. The cassette tape says that this was recorded in December of 2003. That should set off some bells because that is the same time as the Lebedev murders. And also, after Martha visited the drowned city. It seems that the person whose room we just saw and Martha is trying to call is named Carter. As Martha says, "Carter, listen to me. You're making a mistake." The intersplice shots of a car driving to Lake Oakburn tells us that Martha was probably calling this person to keep them from going there. She continues, "Talk to me. Don't you dare turn away. Don't you dare listen to him. I told you I'm working on it. For God's sakes, Carter, answer the phone. Just where the hell are you? What the hell were you thinking with that message? Stay away. Anthony, please. Don't follow the melody." And as Anthony Carter continues to Lake Oakburn, we get our title card once again for Oakburn Opus Lies. So it seems that despite Martha's protest, Carter is traveling back to Lake Oakburn for some reason. If that was his house we saw, he's been obsessed with this case for some time. But now he's seemingly following him and the melody, which we can assume to be the flutist. And if that's the case in the conversation we saw at the beginning, it's likely between the flutist and perhaps the serpent asking permission to lure Carter in. We're taking to part 1, Call on the Wind. This takes us back and shows us how Carter got here in the first place. We see a series of messages Carter's received. 1997, "I'm deeply sorry for your loss. Such a terrible thing. My deepest condolences, Carter. Thoughts are with you during this difficult time." In 2000, "And what an endless grief have their departure caused. I shall pray for you. I'll pray for us and all the lost." 2001, "Where have you been, man? We often talk about you. Left your office intact, when you decide to come back." Then in 2002, "Time heals all wounds, Anthony. You gotta hold on tight." Which to these condolences, we seemingly get Anthony's response when he says on December 3rd, 2003, "Time didn't heal a thing." As he says this, we can also hear the audio of a revolver cylinder spinning. Now, the first time I saw this, I thought this was a cool, tough guy moment where he's decided he's gonna go back to Oakburn and kill whatever's responsible for this. But then as the next few scenes continue, we keep hearing the cylinder spin and the trigger get pulled a single time before it spins again. And that in combination with the 1 bullet we saw on the desk tells us that Anthony is playing Russian roulette. And what I initially thought was a cool, good guy who's gonna go hunt down the monster was actually something very depressing, and I completely missed the vibe. We see a series of the tombstones we saw earlier on the hillside. Text tells us again that all 1,043 residents of Old Oakburn disappeared overnight. As hope of ever finding them withered, the people built cenotaphs, stone memorials raised in the mountains. As their names disappear from our conversations, another monolith is built in their memory. Today, there are 900 cenotaphs. And we see the 2 from the intro once again. As Anthony tells us, yesterday, 2 more were built. See, Anthony lost his wife, Catherine, and his daughter, Ashley, in the disappearance. He wasn't in Oakburn when the disappearance took place, and for the past 6 years, he has suffered with the guilt that he couldn't keep his family safe. And whatever tragic thing happened to them happened without him. All this is being said as the revolver cylinder spins. Anthony says as time moved on, people moved on, and hope faded, but he can't let it go. He says, "We all felt the wind shift uncannily that night, and we all dreamt of those symbols. Something took them. Call on the wind. I fear my strength is failing. I will never stare into those empty graves again." Confirming my idea earlier that the bargain was in reference to Anthony, the mourning father, the serpent appears on screen and the red text appears again. "See the father. He grieves and withers, his mind a fiery sun. As he seeks a spirit of death, thunders draw close, and a shadow halts at the door." Sure enough, as Anthony pulls an empty trigger once again, this time a heavy knock falls on the door. As he glances towards the door, a shadow moves away, and he finds a box left on the front step. This seems to be the first step in whatever is trying to lure him back to the lake. Inside was a VHS tape with an upright triangle drawn on it and a letter with no signature other than an 8-pointed star on its front. Interestingly, on the table, along with the stuff he just received, Anthony also has a copy of Faust. Faust being the famous play about a man who made a deal with the devil, something that in Anthony's investigation he might have tied to Morpheus. As would be fitting, because as we know now, Madhouse gave his soul for the life of his sister. Even if Anthony doesn't know the true nature of that yet, he's starting to catch on. The letter reads as follows: I am part of that power which eternally wills evil and eternally works good. Death is a guest whose visit is never fully celebrated. My gift, a piece of me, to show you what no man has seen. Beneath it is Madhouse's seal. So, to see the supposed gift, Anthony plays the tape. The tape opens with shapes spinning in the same way Martha saw shapes when she went down into the drowned city. Here, however, the circles and octagons are removed, and we now just have squares, at least initially until the red circles begin to emanate from their center, fading and obscuring as if we are looking into water. The first thing we see is the Ludolf family banner. Family banners were used in old times to indicate aspects or sigils or signs or memorabilia of a family, and we know the Ludolfs to be the true last name of Madhouse and Martha. We know thus far that Madhouse, or the flutist, is indicated by an upside-down triangle, and Martha is depicted by an upright triangle. While on the banner we see on the left side, the upside-down triangle shows once again Pied Piper, and the upright triangle on the right shows Justice, the visage of the blind woman holding the scales. This is further confirmed by in the middle of the image, we see both of their respective sigils. And this tracks with everything we've seen thus far. It's fitting that Martha would be represented by Justice, and she seems to be doing everything she's doing now to make this right, or to stop whatever powers are at hand that led to the disappearance of these people. But there's some other things we see on this banner as well. For one, near the top of the image, we see a serpent. At the bottom, we see two wolves. The serpent's likely indicative of the viper, the thing that led them down this path, or at least gave Madhouse his power in the first place, and the two wolves could be representative of the two twins. However, at the top of the image, at the Ludolf name, we see an upside-down triangle with a line through it. We'll talk about what that might mean later. But for now, it seems the flutist is giving Carter all of the things he's been searching for. We know from the drawings on the pinboard he was trying to connect the dots between what the sigils mean, what all these connections could be. Now the flutist, in order to lure him in, is giving him just that. So in the next slide, we see that this tape is the Book of Morpheus 1, the statement by Professor Fyodor Petrov Lebedev from Lower Saxony in 1864. Now this is interesting for a lot of reasons. For one, we're about to see the first Book of Morpheus. It will give us more context to the history of all this. But also, it seems to be put together by Professor Lebedev. The same last name as Alex Lebedev, who again was killed in the starting five, and the two Lebedev murders seem to be a focal point for a lot of the things we're witnessing. It also says this was recorded in Lower Saxony in 1864, a region in Germany. The Ludolf name is Germanic, so it's likely when this was recorded, it was by someone who knew the Ludolfs when the twins would have been 12 years old. So with that, let's look at the first Book of Morpheus. See a woman sitting in a chair with an upside-down triangle and a line through it on her back. This is the same image we saw at the top of the Ludolf banner earlier. Text says, a grieving parent is most conductive to cosmic forces. This is also ironically targeted at Carter himself, as he is a grieving parent who is about to give way to cosmic forces because of his grief. We then see a strange depiction, what appears to be Morpheus or some horned creature, fighting a skeleton, a representation of death, as a viper watches. And thus she bargained with the keen serpent, should her redeem her motherhood on the shores of the Weser River. The Weser River is in North Germany, and it seems that this woman made a deal with the serpent in order to save her children. A deal that was made on the shore of the river. And the water turned crimson as the blood of our children sunk below. The covenant was fulfilled, and raised were the object of our grief, twins. And we see two children, a boy and a girl, represented by an upright triangle and an upside-down triangle. We then, once again, if it isn't clear enough, see the visage of the Pied Piper and Justice attributed to the sigils of Madhouse and Martha. This tells us that it's likely the fate of the twins was sealed far before they had any say in it. It seems the two of them drowned in the river, and their mother, perhaps a witch or just familiar with dark rituals, made a deal. She bargained with the serpent so that her children may be brought back. But the text continues and says, yet the compact commands the sorcerer's willingness. The bargain commands veneration. Contrarily, the viper won't sink its teeth. So because the sorcerer, or the mother, or the witch, made this deal with the serpent, she pledged her allegiance to it. Much like how many years later, Madhouse would do the same when his sister died in a lake once again. Either Martha's quite clumsy around water, or the serpent has used her life to trick the Ludolf family for his purposes time and time again. The book says, symbols speak the language of our faiths, and we're given some clarification to several of the shapes we've seen thus far. The circle, representing the cycle and the obsession. The triangle, representing fire. The inverted triangle, representing water. And the line, representing the bond. Now, this symbolism of the triangles representing elements isn't unique to the series. It's popular within occultism for 4 different variations of the triangle to represent the 4 elements. Upright being fire, inverted being water, as seen here. Upright with a line through it represents air, and inverted with a line through it represents earth. Keep in mind, inverted with a line through it is the same thing we saw on their mother, as well as the top of the family banner. This symbolism is something that gets used in everything from occultism to alchemy to things like Wiccan practices in the West. The unity of the elements often being represented by a pentagram or a 6-sided star. You may already be drawing some conclusions. Madhouse's symbol is water 9 times within a circle that represents cycle or obsession, and Martha's is the symbol of fire connected by a bond to 9 circles, the symbol of cycle or obsession. We'll talk about this more later, but what's happening here literally is Carter is given his answers. The video continues. In their covenant, the serpent would grant power to those who venerate it. Power to defy death. Power to reunite life and death. One can only speculate about the sorcerer's mental state. But as for the Ludolf, all due respect, I wish to refrain from discussing her personal tragedies. Truth is, the serpent is alluring. Elixir vitae, oozing from the viper's fangs. Elixir vitae is Latin for the elixir of life. This confirms for us that the Lebedev, the professor who wrote this original text, knew the Ludolf twins and knew the mother who lost them and made the deal with the serpent, saying that he doesn't want to discuss her personal tragedies and defending her by saying the viper's offer is alluring. I mean, the serpent has the power to give life. What kind of grieving parent wouldn't want that? Which is the exact reason the flutist is showing Carter this now. And then seemingly, Morpheus speaks to Carter directly. She cries your name every night. The little one. Come to the lake. Here my forces lay strong. Should you wish to dry her tears, the sigil is key. You know which one. As an inverted red triangle emanates behind the text. From here, the tape ends, and Carter's decision is pretty clear. He was told from this tape that the serpent has the power to give life, and now he's told that his daughter cries his name at night, crying for him. I mean, a man who was about to take his own life because he couldn't live without her, what else is he going to do? So we then hear a voicemail that Carter left for Martha, the same voicemail she referenced at the beginning of this video. In his message to Martha, who Martha was the lead investigator working the case, Carter says, Martha, I'm tired. I know you try. We all know how good you are at finding people, but to me, your words just don't have any meaning anymore. You say you'll fix things, look away and frown, and with a cold stare you return with the same old condolences. Is there really anything inside you? Behind that husk, I found the damn solution. Or maybe the solution found me. Doesn't matter. Just don't worry about lying anymore. I know those symbols have great power. I'll fix it myself. I'll save my family. To which Carter leaves for Old Oakburn, and Martha replies with the message, we heard the beginning of lies. Fittingly, a depiction of the Piper is shown once again as Carter drives to Oakburn. We see how more and more cenotaphs are added to the countryside as more and more people lose hope. Then amongst them, on the hillside, Morpheus stands, Waiting is a new disciple of Carter. We see pictures of Anthony and his wife depicted as two swans, deeply in love, and then their daughter, Ashley. Morpheus continues to speak. Journey home had all the black stones turned to him. A grimace in each, and a judging stare. We see more artifacts of the disappearance, a newspaper from after the disappearance, an IPD missing persons poster, which, yeah, sure, it shows Catherine and Ashley, which is the point, but if we look to the left, we see that someone named Melissa Bime, doesn't have a face. I guess you could say the exposure was too high that it blurred out her face, but if you look at that image, to me, she doesn't have a face. I don't know what that means or what to do with that. That's weird. If I had a nickel for every time I was covering an internet horror story and someone in the background of an image didn't have a face and it was never explained, I would have 2 nickels. The other time that happened was during the Monument Mythos. You're welcome for not making you try to find it. Anthony drives back to his old home, a home he likely hasn't been to since his wife and daughter disappeared. The house is in disrepair. Windows remain broken, pile of dirt with a pickaxe in the front yard. We're now taken to part 2 titled Blue Crystal Fire. Blue Crystal Fire is the title of another song by Robbie Basho, the same singer who sung the song in the last Oberyn Opus video, and this song appears at the end of this video. The song is about someone wanting to be reunited with their lover who will wipe their tears away. So now that Morpheus has effectively made Carter want to have what he's offering, he's now about to offer him the thing that will damn him. Carter walks through the empty and dark house all the way to his daughter's room. When he gets to her room, the door opens on its own. Carved into the door itself is an upright triangle. Carter says that all of her things stood still, perfect to memory. It seems that Ashley was an artist, drawing pictures of ladies and swans. He looks down at her desk, and while the main thing we see is a journal with a swan in front of it, I also want to point out the wolf plushie to the left. For one, the wolf symbols come up a couple of times. On the Ludolf family banner, there were 2 wolves shown at the base of it, possibly representing the twins, and John Doe described Morpheus as lichen-shaped, or wolf-shaped. But on a sweeter note, or more tragic note, I want to point out that the wolf plushie we see here is the same plushie next to Carter's television when he was watching the tape earlier, meaning that one of the only memorabilia of his daughter that he had with him was the matching wolf plushie. Perhaps a plushie he gifted her one year as a father and daughter thing. Her plushie now sitting on the desk watching him as he opens her notebook. The next segment of the video being from that same notebook, or Ashley's diary, taken October 1997. From the 3rd to the 7th of October, we hear about events that we've heard some depiction of up until now, but this time with Ashley's illustrations and perspective. Cold and foggy morning, the wind blew softly as an outsider stumbled upon our gates, hunched and cloaked, came towards us deeply injured. Our people took him in, treated his nasty wounds, and offered him refuge. He is tall and thin, towers over any crowd, and shines at the touch of the sun. From his dark cloak, he withdrew a flute. It is enchanting, unlike anything else. So we gathered around the fire, and they all danced from night to morning, and from morning to night. Sometimes the tall figure danced too. In these illustrations, we see everything from the townsfolk gathered around to hear him play, to them dancing around him, some sort of idol casting down a glare upon them. He stays here. He roams the night, spreading melody through the avenues, soothing the ill, the children, and all folks into mighty, peaceful sleep. In anxious nights, he calms my heart. And then, on October 8th, this morning, he insisted on accompanying me on a walk in the woods. He said he wished to protect me from any hungry wolves. We were looking for the forget-me-nots and fireweeds and all the pretty flowers that blossomed around. Most of the time, he'd follow silently. Then the wind would blow around us, and I'd understand his words. He says he was here a long time ago, that he saw some of the old houses being built, when old Oakburn was not old. He led the people here. The settlement thrived. But then came times of wrath, and all was consumed in a great fire. This hints more things we've heard about previously, when the great viper's wrath was known. He leaves, he says. He carries his loss to a very dark and gloomy place he wishes I would never see. But it was all done now, and the past cannot be redeemed. Would you like to see something beautiful? He said. We walked out of the woods to the shore of the lake. We see some depictions of Morpheus that are far more detailed than anything we've got thus far. We see the scales and the fish-like details of his head. In spite of this ghastly appearance, no one has ever mentioned fear at this appearance. It's as if the trance that came with the flute did more than entice their ears. And on the lake swims a beautiful white swan, as in my dreams and the beautiful images that came from his flute. Dad says the lake is barren. There's no fish and no animals drink there. No life could exist in those waters. But the flutist says he and death walk side by side. This is followed by several glimpses of the recording from the day of the disappearance and photographs of Lake Oakburn. Flutist walks hand in hand with death indeed. This entire segment is so good. The drawings are indicative of medieval artwork depicting witchcraft and ceremony. The drawing of the people dancing around the flutist is like that of the dancing plague. The horned figure standing above the young girl calls upon everything from satanic imagery to ancient depictions of satyrs and other creatures from mythology. That in combination with the child's narration and the music box we hear as it's being narrated, it does such a great job at mythologizing this entire setting. It's making it something older than the town and the people and the memories of the area. As she said, he led the people here to settle old Oakburn in the first place. There's some grand plan here that can never have been stopped. This monster and this creature is the stuff of legend, and Red Diamond does a great job interpreting that. After this, we see the conversation in a transcript from October 9th, one day before the magnum opus or the disappearance of the townspeople. This is the Carter family's last recorded call. It seems that he was out on a job and there was an accident at work, so now Anthony's gonna have to be gone for the weekend. He knows that Ashley is gonna be disappointed by this, so he tells his wife to tell her that he'll get her some of those colored pencils she's been wanting. Then ends by saying, tell her dad will bring her some of those as an apology, and tell her I love her. The last things he would ever say to his wife before they were gone forever, or at least gone until now. That phone conversation rubs salt in the wound further. You might have been asking, well, if the whole town disappeared, why didn't Anthony? And it's simply because he wasn't home when the disappearance took place. It's likely one of the only residents of the town who survived. He's been living with the consequences of that ever since. That night, as Carter is still in his old family home, Morpheus speaks again. The clock struck 12. Towards the attic, there in which he will bargain the weight of his grief. Carter has set up a sort of altar with pictures of his wife and daughter, and, just as Morpheus commanded, drawn the sigil onto the floor. As I said earlier, sigils are often used as calling cards, or a way to summon a specific entity who you want a favor or answers from. Carter is now using that in a ritual to call onto Morpheus so that he can see his family again. Carter kneels before the altar and the candles. It says, to what do I kneel? I see your symbols. I acknowledge your divinity. I do not seek retaliation. See? Devotion. And I shall only ask one thing in return, the lives of my family. Free them. Sigil behind him lights on fire. Dispose of mine as you see fit, but free my child. Free them both and keep me instead. I beg you. The ghostly garb, cloaked in sheets of his wife and child, stand by their altar. Fire ignites the room. I can no longer bear it. Whatever you be, I've seen your light. I've answered your call. Talk to me, Lord of Rats. Talk to me. And with this cry, for a moment, he hears a woman breathe and turns to see Morpheus outside of the window. This text appears that says, follow the melody. I gotta say, this whole sequence, first time I watched it, hit so hard. And even now, it's one of the coolest moments I've ever seen in a YouTube horror project. Like the sigil and the fire showing up and him begging and then their ghost appearing. That line, Lord of Rats, got to me in way too. Because one of the most popular names you hear given to Lucifer is Beelzebub, or the Lord of the Flies. So Morpheus, being referred to as the Lord of the Rats, is fittingly satanic. And now he has someone who's willing to pledge his life and soul for the sake of his family. Morpheus, as we see, is far too eager to answer. And also, it's just shot so well. Like that breathe and the way the camera turned, and then you see the figure move out of the window, but then you see the entire hallway, how it's shaped like an upright triangle. Just the colors and the sets and the camera movement, it all works so well. Again, I mentioned Long Legs earlier, but that camera turn and the way that a lot of the scenes, especially in Lies of Frame, almost feels like a Wes Anderson flick. The way the camera is so impartial to the setting and just rotates on a tripod. And again, I know a lot of these sets are digital, but it's the cinematography style that the digital landscape is invoking. It does such a great job at establishing a dreamlike quality to the scares we're seeing. Again, Red Diamond is such a talented filmmaker, and he's doing this whole thing by himself. As Anthony makes his way to the lake, Morpheus continues. Where are you, Anthony, whose anguish cries, drew towards me with all your force? You begged my presence, you implored my voice. Now hearken to my melody. Seek the wind, impart your wail unto me. Once so prosperous in your love, would you like to rejoin them? Anthony, now standing on the lake, willing to offer himself up, says to Morpheus, instruct me. Morpheus appears before him, and their conversation goes as follows. The exit shall remain sealed until our unification. For ghosts and conjurers, the same laws appertain. The same way they enter in, they must go out. What? But I beg you, how should they be of any use? She was only— I have use in you. Thus, I tempt you to a compact of much value. How? You'll join them. May you rest united in their slumber beneath these waters. Should you resign your flesh, relinquish your body, upon fulfilled covenant, I shall raise you as a vessel. Is that hesitancy? You failed as their protector once. I now offer you the faculty to redeem your fatherhood. You sought a spirit of death, and I have come. Unite, persist in your own misery. I accept. The image of Carter here is now inverted. True Carter is upside down, and what stands is his reflection cast upon the water, cast above the drowned city. We see flashes of shapes, the Ludolf banner once again, image of Morpheus fighting death, and we see the monolith, the sigil, the tombstone, the entryway of Morpheus once more glow red. And for a brief glimpse, we see two messages presented backwards. If we mirror this image, we see that it's two letters Anthony wrote to his wife and daughter. I believe these letters to be the final messages he wanted to send to his wife and daughter before he gave himself as a vessel. First reads, Kath, I'm deeply sorry, my dear, but I've tried it again, and it did not happen today. I'm ashamed. I should be in those woods, and I should scream your names until my throat burns and bleeds, and I should hike and search for you and our little girl until my legs fall apart. But I'm afraid I'm losing my strength and see no other option. I hope you forgive me, darling, even if I don't deserve it. If not, tell me, how should I stay here living in shame as you wither in some dark place, your name forgotten day after day? May I join you and our princess in this great city soon. With love, Anthony. To his daughter. Hi, princess. I've looked through your drawings today, and in tears I imagine how beautiful they would look in color. You were talented and full of light. I just hope you grow to show the world all that light. You were not allowed to grow. You were not. And I will pray every day that the most beautiful angels stand guard at your everlasting rest, because you deserve what is best in this life and beyond it. Love you forever, Dad. Morpheus said a lot there that's interesting. Things like conjurers and spirits must leave the same way they entered. That the two of them must be unified, and that upon completion of it, he can rest with his wife and daughter. We'll talk about that later, but we're almost at the end now. As a matter of fact, we're in our last part of our final upload. Part 3, The Boy with the Gun. When I saw the title for this part, I got so hyped. Like I said, the title was a mainstay in part 2, the part around the Lebedev murders. That's about to become really relevant right now. After the encounter, Carter wandered the mountain for 5 days, allegedly in a deranged state of mind. December 10th, 2003. Carter comes across the Lebedev residence. Anthony Carter was John Doe from part 2. All we knew then was that someone came under Morpheus's influence and went to this house to murder the two brothers. But now we see who it was and why. He gave himself over to Morpheus because there was nothing left to do, because even if it was death, it was better than living without his wife and daughter. And that is the influence Morpheus used to make use of Carter, to kill these brothers. Still don't know why Morpheus wanted these brothers dead. Now we know what he did to get them dead. This is such a great twist. Maybe if you're experiencing the story for the first time through this video, you caught on because of like the pickaxe outside of the Carter house that was used in the Lebedev killings, or how I emphasized that this was in December of 2003, the same month as the Lebedev murders. But when I was watching this for the first time, that completely blindsided me. But I love how much that makes sense, and I love how much this entry is giving context to something that, from an objective standpoint, isn't that important. Like, we could just hear that some random person got possessed and committed the murders, and it'd be fine if it left it at that, but fleshing it out so much makes it so much more impactful. We see the murders depicted once again, see their bodies lying dead on the darkroom floor, and then, as we saw in part 2, Carter called the police and confessed to the murder. But now with this context, we know that Martha was speaking to Carter before the murders took place, leading to her text here that says, what have you done? So from her perspective, Carter called her and said that he was going to follow the flutist. She couldn't get a hold of him, and then he calls the police and said he was the one that killed the Lebedevs. We then see more photographs and illustrations of the murder. So the text says, what will it be then, Martha? Martha says, our people are fed up with these nightmares. Take them to the lake and stay out of sight. Make sure they sink. Just give me a few minutes. We see pictures of Oliver and Jackson's body, and arrestingly, both are depicted with an upside-down triangle. This could simply be because they were ultimately victims of the flutist. Martha continues, Carter is emptied. No, this is not Carter. Not anymore. I'll deal with him. We also see an image of Carter. However, Carter is depicted with an upright triangle. If the upright triangle is a symbol of Martha, then maybe by deal with him, Martha killed him, realizing that he was now just a vessel for the flutist, and that it'd be more humane to put him out of his misery and stop him from hurting anyone else. This context of Martha having the police throw the bodies into the bottom of the lake makes sense now with what we heard at the end of part 2. How the killer said he had hit him with a pickaxe and shot him, but that didn't match with the evidence with the body showing sign of drowning. But if Martha was trying to hide the bodies to keep people from knowing about how terrible things were here and about the supernatural goings on, but if Martha was trying to hide people from the truth of what was really happening here, then that makes sense of why the bodies would have waterlogged damage. Now you could theorize that perhaps Martha is acting on behalf of the flutist or the serpent or Morpheus, because if Morpheus is trying to bring people to the lake, then maybe she just threw 2 people into the lake. I mean, this is after she went to the drowned city after all. But I don't think so, because if that was the case, why would she kill Carter? Like, if that guy's a vessel, it took that much time for him to fully commit himself to Morpheus, then if she was working with him, she'd just leave him around. The one thing that is weird, though, is it didn't just say in part 2 that the bodies were found with water damage, it said they had pulmonary injury. In other words, they breathed water in. So were the Lebedev brothers half alive when they were thrown into the lake? Or, in the midst of this, somehow Carter did something to resurrect them, and it was their resurrected form that was drowned in the lake. Who knows? But Martha accurately realized that Carter wasn't Carter anymore, and instead was just a vessel. When an image of Martha Astor appears, see the Astor. Her stare is empty, and she rewrites our tragedies that night. In their paper, she writes the brothers drowned and sunk. That night, in her condolences, she says Anthony Carter lay face down in blood with 5 bullets in his chamber, and another in his head. She lies. She lies because no lamb shall fear any wolves, for all the wolves have drowned. But in truth, only one wolf drowned. Didn't it, Martha? We have overstayed our welcome. The only path for redemption is our destruction. We see the image once again, Piper and Justice, and for a few frames we see the depiction of their mother once again, this time enclosed within a circle of obsession and the cycle. The end words that Morpheus said to Martha are interesting. For one, it seems that all the stuff about, well, the brothers actually drowned was made up by Martha. The murder was brutal, she didn't want people to know about it, so she had the bodies thrown in the water so that she could say it was just a drowning accident. And then similarly, she lied about Carter as well. It seems she shot Carter and then said he only had 5 bullets left in the gun. In other words, claiming that Carter took his own life. As Morpheus says, she is rewriting history, rewriting their tragedies so that the sheep will not fear the wolves. But then he says, only one wolf drowned, didn't it, Martha? The only person we know of so far who was drowned was her. I mean, it was her drowning that led to Madhouse selling his soul to save her. I theorized in the last part that maybe Martha's coming to the conclusion that they should be ended, that they shouldn't live forever. But here, it seems that Morpheus has came to the same conclusion, saying they've overstayed their welcome. Now, perhaps Morpheus is just saying they've overstayed their welcome in the land of the living, and he's trying to get her to join him in the necropolis. And also, it's not like Morpheus is a figure that can be trusted from everything we've seen thus far. I mean, this entire last section was about him manipulating a grieving father to get his will. But it's interesting that he seems to be coming to the conclusion that, as he said, they've overstayed their welcome. Maybe Martha's intentions aren't as pure as we might think. Sure, it seems the stuff she's doing is to keep the public safe and to try to keep people from knowing about how disastrous this world of the unseen really is. But maybe she has her own ulterior motives that we don't know about yet, but her brother does. For now, that's all we have of the Oakburn Opus series. But with that, there's some things I want to talk about. First of all, let's establish a general timeline for all this. The first event that seems to have any significance for us is the twins being born in 1857. There's a mention in the second book of Morpheus about 2 miracles being born. This potentially refers to them. So while we know their mother did a ritual to save them years later, especially given their mother's ties to witchcraft, there's a chance there was something special about them from the beginning. By 1864, Professor Lebedev writes a commentary about the book of Morpheus 1. So by 1864, the twins have drowned and been resurrected. But it also hints that perhaps Morpheus and the serpent and these legends at play are much, much older than our story. Then in 1897, when Martha is killed again, Madhouse makes the bargain for his soul for her life, and on that seemingly, he is transformed into Morpheus or the flutist, and old Oakburn is founded. From there, supernatural findings become regular in the area. In the 80s, we have events like the Circles and the Starving Five. Also during this time, Martha was living in the town and seemingly married a local. Someone who was so local, in fact, that his brother, Gary Astor, lived in the town as well. However, both of them, as we saw, were killed or consumed by supernatural forces. In October of 1997, the flutist arrives at Oakburn and entices everyone with his flute. By the end of the month, all 1,034 residents would disappear. By 2002, Martha has become a detective and decided to travel alone to old Oakburn. It's there that she visits the
Wait,
drowned
Miss
city,
Happy Pride Month?
and then leaves with this newfound knowledge and seemingly a desire to stop this from happening. 1 year later, in 2003, Morpheus seduces Carter to give himself as a vessel, and then that vessel is used to kill the Lebedev brothers, a murder which Martha hides from the community at large by staging it as a drowning accident. Then there's a huge gap in time, and we know that Martha's things were recovered in 2010, meaning sometime between 2003 and 2010, she must go missing, perhaps returning to the drowned city as Morpheus wanted to do when he spoke through John Doe, or as we know now, Anthony Carter. Which, with this further context, the conversation from part 2 makes more sense. Because at the end of part 2, when Anthony Carter's possessed, he says the only reason he's speaking to Martha is to call her back to the drowned city. But we know from part 3 she's already seen the drowned city once in 2002. So it seems that after she left, Morpheus is now beckoning her to return. This might be because of what we see at the end of Lies, when Morpheus says they've overstayed their welcome. Perhaps Madhouse or Morpheus or whatever is speaking through this form at this point wants the cycle to end, but for some reason, Martha wants to see it through. We don't know enough about Martha yet to know her true motivations. Perhaps she is grief-stricken by the loss of her husband and the damage that these supernatural beings have brought upon the towns. Or perhaps she is overstaying her welcome and refuses to die. But like I said earlier, the flutist isn't one to be trusted. Which the flutist has an interesting title in himself, right? And that name, Morpheus. Well, out of any religion or cultist belief, there isn't a flute player named Morpheus, but there is one named Marsyas. Marsyas was a satyr, or in other words, a half human, half goat. Marsyas was said to be he who invented the music of the flute. As legend has it, one day Athena, while playing the flute, an invention of the gods, saw that it made her cheeks puff up whenever she played. In disgust, she threw the flute away, to which it was found by a lowly satyr named Marsyas. Marsyas picked up the flute and became quite good at it, playing wherever he went, and those who would hear would learn of the flute. Marsyas either became so great at this, or his ego became so large that he decided to challenge a god. So he goes to the god Apollo, known for playing the lyre, and Marsyas says he can play the flute better than Apollo can play the lyre. So they have a competition on whatever terms Apollo wants, and as they're playing, they're both quite good. It seems to even be a draw. That is, until Apollo begins to sing as he plays, something that, of course, a flute player can't do. In other renditions of the tale, Apollo asks that they play their instruments upside down, again, something not great for a flute player. So Marsyas loses, and as punishment for attempting to challenge God, Apollo has him skinned alive. Some renditions of the story, the skin is used to make a wine sack. To be filleted, he was tied to a tree near a lake, and then when they were done, Apollo turned the satyr into a stream, a living embodiment of water. In the Oakburn Opus series trailer that Red Diamond posted right before Lies came out, the opening snippet is a short summary of the Marsyas myth. So does this mean that Morpheus is the same satyr from Greek myth? I don't think so, but I think it's meant to invoke it. From what we know now, Morpheus is more an amalgamated form of fish and scale and horns and humanity, what little's left. But on first appearance, he certainly looks like a satyr, like a goat man. And a goat man that plays the flute is no incident. It clearly draws to the legend. The takeaway most people have from the Marsyas legend is that of hubris. Marsyas thought himself so wise and so powerful that he could beat the gods at their own game. So perhaps something similar happened with Madhouse. We know that he and his sister from a young age were condemned to a supernatural future given their resurrection, but perhaps Martha turned away from this upbringing while Madhouse fell into it. After all, in the first book of Morpheus, we learned that the sorcerer has to be dedicated to the serpent, and that great power can come from this dedication, to cheat death and unite life and death. And what did Morpheus say to Ashley Carter on the banks of Lake Oakburn? That he walks hand in hand with death. But perhaps Martha tried to leave the life, and Madhouse embraced his witchhood, ultimately making a deal that signed away his fate. Perhaps he thought himself powerful enough to best the serpent or to overcome this bargain, just as Marsyas thought he could outplay Apollo. That's not the only place in the series that symbols seem important. The most obvious one is the sigils. As far as I've been able to find, none of the Ludolf sigils match any real world or like occult belief sigils. There's a ton of sigils for different gods and spirits and entities, but the upside down triangles in the circle and the triangle with the 9 circles doesn't seem to be any of them. But we can put together what the sigil means based off stuff we see in the series. As I mentioned earlier, it's a practice within occultism for the triangles to represent different elements, and Madhouse fittingly has an upside down triangle representing water. This makes sense not only because Madhouse now as Morpheus is at the bottom of the drowned city, but also because, as I mentioned in the original Marsyas legend, he is ultimately turned into water. The elements can symbolize a ton of things in occultism, but water often symbolizes emotions. This might be fitting if Madhouse made an emotional decision when he lost his sister to sign away his soul and eventually the lives of thousands of people forever. His sigil depicts 9 water logos. 9 also has significance within occultism, most often representing the end of something or the cycle. That's because 9 is the highest number you can get to before your numbers become two other numbers together. 9 is at the end of basic numerology. And once again, that seems fitting for everything we've seen in Madhouse. Again, we're not sure where he stands in this. If he wants the cycle to be over, I mean, seemingly he does by saying they've overstayed their welcome. But if this is a cycle, what does that mean? Does that mean Madhouse has died several times before or done this in several different towns? Or does it mean Morpheus, the spirit within him, has done this before? That Madhouse is just another vessel, just how Anthony Carter was just another vessel. Importantly, his 9 triangles are seen within a circle that the series tells us can either represent the cycle or obsession. If the symbolism of 9 is to be believed, then perhaps his circle does mean the cycle, and Madhouse's persistence in ensuring it. Then we have Martha's sigil. One that began appearing all the way back in part 2. This symbol represents an upright triangle, or in other words, fire. Fire often represents purity, power, or strength. This idea of pure strength could be identified as justice. Something that is fitting considering Martha's symbol on the family banner was that of justice. And again, Madhouse's was the Pied Piper, which, obvious symbolism is obvious. Pied Piper shows up to town, plays a flute, and all the kids disappear. What does that sound like? Martha is represented by the image of fire connected to 9 circles. Now, if the circle means a cycle or obsession, does that mean her justice has an obsessive quality? We know that a line represents a bond, so there's a bond between her, the fire, and this obsession, or perhaps her and the cycle. Maybe Martha isn't immortal in the way I perceive, and that she's just been alive since the 1800s. Maybe she's died and been resurrected time and time again. Maybe through her own body, or maybe through rebirth. Either way, it's something that, according to Morpheus, needs to end. There's also a physical mention of 9 circles earlier. I believe it was in the book of 2nd Morpheus. Specifically, it's in the 10th stanza of the 2nd book of Morpheus, where it says, "Roar the fire from 9 circles and let the water boil." Now, this roaming the fire from 9 circles is very indicative of Dante's Inferno, the idea of hell being broken into 9 parts. We haven't got a clear clarification, and we may never, as to what the nature of these supernatural beings is. If they are demonic, or if they're just spiritual, or some other supernatural or alien presence in a Lovecraft sense. The idea that these are beings from dimensions we can't even comprehend. But if they are expressly demonic, then perhaps that's what the 9 circles refers to. It is a direct connection to hell, and therefore, Martha's symbol of fire has a connection to the 9 circles, which again would be fitting if she died and was resurrected. Or again, if we just go off the symbolism we're given, perhaps it just means that she is connected to the cycle, or that her sense of justice is surrounded by obsession. Now that we know the first book of Morpheus and know where the twins came from, that seemed to be their mother's doing. A mother, which by the way is represented by an upside down triangle with a line through it, or in other words, Earth. Earth in occultism often represents a motherly figure or nurturing, since everything comes from Earth. This therefore is a fitting symbol for their mother. And since their mother seemed to lead to everything that's happened to them, it makes sense that on their family banner for the two of them, we see the Earth symbol at the top next to the name. The two forever exist in the shadow of their mother's actions. But now that we know that first book, let's look at some of the stuff we hear in the second book. In the first stanza, we hear about the wrathful times once again, when the serpent's tongue hissed and, as was described by young Ashley Carter, bad things happened in the town and all was consumed in a great fire. Something we all know about. Yeah, but we'll probably get clarification on with future entries. But it refers to Morpheus as the drowned artist. Perhaps he's called that because of his flute playing, but it says that he rose from the pungent waters, or as we know now, the drowned city. So at some point after Madhouse became Morpheus, he came to the lake and went down to the drowned city. Then all was seemingly destroyed by the viper, but once the viper left, then Morpheus arose. Perhaps the viper's presence is the thing we saw in the VHS tales. Giant circles appearing in the sky, a physical manifestation of a cycle, and one that draws people in and allows them to be converted by it. I mean, Ethan said all the way back then that it's a representation of forever. It has no beginning, it has no end, yet it is. And the thing like the wind go stalking the woods. I mean, the people in the Starving Five said these kinds of things just happen in town. If you're not careful, you disappear. Perhaps all of that was the viper's wrath, and then there was a great fire, the viper went away, and Morpheus arose. Morpheus is also explicitly described as being under the viper, as it says in the 3rd stanza that he's servant to a certain viper sin. This also connects to what the serpent speaks through Madhouse to Martha at the end of part 3, where the viper effectively says that he rose up Morpheus, that he created him for this purpose. The 4th stanza that says, "Betrayed, a price was paid, his kin spared from the gloom of the lake, and now his flesh in torment laid." Again, now that's very plainly understood as what Madhouse did for his sister. However, in the 7th stanza, when it's describing Morpheus entering the town, it says, "The city of snow, where once 2 miracles were born from divine blow." Again, in my opinion, this probably refers to the twins. It seems confusing that this city seems to be Old Oakburn, and from what we saw at the beginning, if they were born in the 1800s, it seems they started around Germany. But assuming this is Old Oakburn that's being discussed, perhaps the twins weren't supposed to exist in the first place. Perhaps their mother made some kind of deal to allow them to be hers. Perhaps some kind of blasphemous immaculate conception. So they were 2 miracles who then the mother lost, and she pledged her allegiance to have them back, which is the same thing Madhouse would do for Martha years later. So most of the details we have about the story are pretty clear. We can kind of guess where they're going with things like the Ludolf mother. But we know other stuff for sure. Martha and Madhouse are brother and sister. We understand how the sigils work, who they represent, how Morpheus brings new people in on his schemes, with how we see Carter become seduced. We know all of that, but there's still a lot of stuff we don't know. Like, for example, why were the Lebedevs murdered? I mean, they're obviously connected to something. Their great or great-great-grandfather, or that was the 1850s, so add some more greats. That Lebedev personally knew the Ludolf mother and wrote of the first book of Morpheus. So then, over 150 years later, by coincidence, another 2 Lebedevs are killed on the behalf of Morpheus. And the details around them are a little too specific. This murder seems too important. They were photographers. They were murdered in the dark room of their home. Maybe they saw something while they were taking photographs that they shouldn't have seen. So once Morpheus had the capability, he sent his servant to kill them. We also have what's probably the biggest question of the whole series, and something that will probably be answered near the end. What is the serpent? I mean, there's obvious, religious, satanic ties to serpent imagery. The animal most often equated to the devil of the Bible is that of a serpent. In his first appearance to Adam and Eve, he presented himself as a serpent, and in that instance as well, enticed man to fall into his will and out of their favor, simply dressed in the visage of what they think they want. Much like how I'm sure the serpent of this story made a deal with Madhouse and likely his mother. Whatever it is, it's something powerful, and it seems to be at the heart of the story. As far as my opinion goes, I think it could be the devil. I think this could all be demonic influence. I equally think it could be a, once again, Lovecraftian horror, but this is just some community, some element outside of our nature that we're not equipped to deal with. There's no telling, but whatever it is, I think it's going to be something cool. Also, at the very end of part 3, when it seems the serpent is speaking through Madhouse, he says, "And my dead throat shall cast upon this earth the fire of the 9 circles," which once again sounds like a reference to hell, "to the land that plunged me into darkest pits, to blazing marble, to the drowned city so below, and those who skin the lungs of mine will scream into the void." So this sounds like the serpent at one point was cast out and cast down. He was plunged into the darkest pits. His lungs were skinned. That certainly sounds like a reference to the Marcia Smith. And he says these people that did him wrong will scream into the void. They will scream the name of that beast, Morpheus. So it seems Morpheus has been made as a tool for vengeance. And it's hard to tell if Madhouse has accepted his role or is simply a vessel for what the serpent wants. There's a ton of questions the series still has in store, but by the way it's answered everything thus far and how well each piece has been set up, I'm sure there's an answer waiting for us. Remember that series trailer I mentioned a moment ago that has a reference to Marcius in its opening? Well, most of the trailer is shots from the series set to the song The Boy with the Gun. Again, a song that I think is fitting to describe Madhouse, the situation he's found himself in. Or perhaps if the serpent is on a mission of retribution, the situation the viper has found himself in. But if you go to the end of that trailer, we see Oakburn Opus Part 1, 2, 3, and Lies. And again, this trailer was released right before Lies came out. But then we see Oakburn Opus Part 4 and Oakburn Opus 5, the finale. Like I said, Red Diamond has had this plan from the start. There's set to be 2 more mainline entries in the series, and I think it will answer all of our questions, give us some more, but whatever happens, it'll be cool. Like I said, I haven't seen a series that has captured me this much in a while. There are so many cool theories to draw on. There's so many symbols we get and things to play with. I'm sure someone that's more familiar with occultism than me can probably make more inferences based on the symbols we see and things like the family banner. I'm sure there's a ton of cool Easter eggs in that. There's so much knowledge here that pieces itself together to create a satisfying narrative where we can clearly see there is an architect behind the scenes of it all, but he doesn't show his hand. The story never gets too excited and reveals its hand too early so that we know that it knows what it's doing. Instead, Instead, Red Diamond takes his time, paces it out, and because of it, the whole thing feels satisfying. Even if we don't have all our answers yet, the adventure to get there has been well worth our time. So once again, I cannot hype the series up enough. Go check it out in the description, subscribe to the Red Diamond channel, and also sign up for the Patreon if you can. Like I said, good artists need good support. This is an amazing horror project. I want to see more of it. Hopefully you do too. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I just want to say thank you for watching. I had seen the Nexpo video on this, and it was, I think, when just part 2 was out, and I would have found the channel and saw there were more entries and was absolutely blown away by part 3 and Lies. I love this. I can't wait for more to come out. Red Diamond also announced on their Patreon that there would be another series, I believe called Nowhere Boulevard, that I don't think is going to have a connection to Oak Burn Opus, but if this guy's making horror projects, I'm there for it. Also, if you In April of 2017, a strange YouTube channel began uploading mysterious videos. Most of the videos didn't even have a specific title, just the default title that came from the video's file name. And most of the footage was just random shots of nature or buildings. But in the midst of this unassuming imagery, something disturbing was taking place. It seemed whoever was uploading In April of 2017, a strange YouTube channel began uploading mysterious videos. Most of the videos didn't even have a specific title, just the default title that came from the video's file name. And most of the footage was just random shots of nature or buildings. But in the midst of this unassuming imagery, something disturbing was taking place. It seemed whoever was uploading this footage was doing so out of order. And when placed in order, it seems the videographer was stalking women, filming dead animals, and eventually documented the kidnap and murder of several victims. The presentation of the series led many online to speculate if it was real, given how hyper-violent some of the imagery seemed to be. And in January of 2020, after uploading for over 2.5 years, the entire channel would disappear, seemingly being banned from YouTube altogether. This has led to speculation that at least some parts of the series are connected to real crimes, and of course added to the mystery of the whole channel. When using archives of the series, we can see that it's not only as intense as everyone described, but beyond the shocking presentation, there's a puzzle. A puzzle that can be pieced together using the different film types and titles for each video, and opens up a found footage terror full of murder and betrayal. Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about the now gone YouTube channel, Kept Here, or Kept Her E. I heard about Kept Here not too long back, and I am amazed that more people aren't talking about it. Like sure, the entire channel got deleted, but there's archives of it, and this entire series is absurd. Not only because I think it's well done, but I am blown away that anyone uploaded this to YouTube, because of how over the top and intense some of the imagery is. The 2 places you can still watch the series are, for one, on the Internet Archive, where all the videos are still broken down with their original names, and the Cockatus, whatever, media, who's uploaded a video that is the entire series as it was uploaded, followed by the entire series in sort of chronological order. As you're going to see, making a timeline for the series is difficult. So it'll be linked in the description, and the series does a great job at setting its mood and aesthetic, so if you're interested, I would recommend checking it out first. However, major, all capital letters viewer discretion. I'm not going to show the images in this video. I'll have them like blurred out or pixelated or something. But in the original series, there is completely uncensored, full frontal male nudity, which is probably why I got taken off YouTube. Dead animals, not like they murdered animals like roadkill, and some images of people being tortured that are probably a little bit real. Like, unless the theories online are true, people weren't actually being murdered and cut up, but they are being tied up and in some uncomfortable positions in some of the scenes. So again, the series is linked below, but again, viewer discretion. I'm sure after that introduction, you are so excited to hear about this very happy, definitely not miserable series. And if you are, then stick around after the ad as we talk about the banned YouTube channel, Kept Here. While talking about fictional things that can go wrong, it's important to focus on real things that can go wrong, like your sleep schedule. Throughout the day, I have a million things on my mind, so typically when I go to bed, it can be hard for me to get to sleep and then stay there. I've talked on this channel before about how AG1 helps me start my day, but now they're here to help me end it. And that's thanks to today's sponsor, AGZ. AGZ is the nightly drink that helps you wind down and rest up. That's because AGZ is a melatonin-free formula with clinically studied herbs, adaptogens, and minerals, all designed to help you get more rest and feel good about it. That's because AGZ contains things like mactine, magnesium, and saffron, things that help take stress off your mind and put your body at ease. And just like its morning counterpart, AGZ is extremely easy to make, because all you need is 4 to 6 ounces of water or milk, 1 packet of AGZ, your included frother, and you're good to go. And whereas AG1 is intended to drink with cold water, with AGZ it can be cold or warm, or you can even use milk. And with flavors like mixed berry, chocolate mint, or chocolate, you can choose exactly how you want to wind down for the night. I've tried the chocolate so far, and it tastes like chocolate milk, mixed with some herbal natural sweeteners, as AGZ doesn't use any artificial sweeteners in their product. Since, you know, taking a lot of stimulants or sugar while drinking AGZ would kind of defeat the purpose. So if you're ready to turn down the stress and focus on your rest, then there's never been a better time to get in on this offer. That's because if you head to my link in the description or scan the QR code, you will get a free frother with your first purchase of AGZ. That's right, a free frother to make your easy-to-make nighttime routine even easier. Again, just head to my link in the description or scan the QR code to get in on this incredible offer today. Thank you for watching the ad. Thank you to AGZ for sponsoring the channel. Their link will be in the description, and we are back to the video. We are going to go ahead and get into it, but as always, thank you for watching. Now, as mentioned, the majority of the videos on this channel don't have named titles. It's just the default title that's created when the file was made, as if someone was recording it and then immediately uploading it to the YouTube channel, which further goes into the presentation of the channel, as the channel was called Kept Here and didn't even have a profile picture. On top of that, Kept Here is kind of misspelled, as there is a space before the last E, implying that whoever's running this channel is just using it as a personal storage bank. One thing you may notice glancing over the channel, you know, if it still existed, is that there are different kinds of files. Some are DV or mini DV tapes, some begin with P, which is like a DSLR camera, and some are just IMG, as if they were recorded on an iPhone. In addition to this, however, some of the videos, seemingly at random, are named, but even then they're more of storage names rather than titles, like Garage or On Roof. All in all, when the channel was taken down, it had 114 videos. So let's start getting into those videos and see what we find. The first section of videos is noted by the DV file type, again implying that what we're seeing is from a mini DV camcorder. And it seems what we're watching is just non-sequitur images of someone's day. Shots of them driving down a road and then standing in trees and then looking up at the sky. They go to the woods and zoom in on a pink ribbon. They stand by a river, go to a construction area, and the first video ends with them standing in a parking lot with a school bus. It's as if someone is going about their day and then just picking up the camcorder, recording for a few seconds and then putting it down. That continues through the next couple videos as whoever's recording goes to stand on a rooftop at night, walks behind what looks like a dorm room or office building under construction, eventually goes inside and then walks around outside, gets footage of someone who who's jogging, and then two people on a bench, one of which seems to be going to sleep on the bench. It seems whoever this is just kind of wanders around. They see this unassuming thing, they get footage of it, they walk over there, they walk away, they get footage of this other thing. If there is a purpose to what they're recording, we don't see it yet. The next video is much the same, and also I'm not reading off the title of these because it wouldn't mean anything to you if I was like, in DV100135. So unless I say it has a title, just assume it's unimportant for now. In the next video, our cameraman is walking around an abandoned building. He then goes to the woods behind the building and gets footage of ants. Then near the end of the video, he seemingly crouches down into the grass and then scurries away. For whatever reason, it seems like he's hiding from something. Our next video is the first one that has a title, and its title is Garage, Groundbreaking Stuff. And then, believe it or not, the footage of which is inside of a parking garage. Most of the footage consists of our cameraman recording unassuming parts of a parking garage. The staircase, a bottle on the ground. He eventually starts recording this dude in a green shirt, but from his perspective, it seems that our cameraman is hiding as he does so. Perhaps he knows this guy, or just doesn't want this guy to know he's filming. The next video takes place inside of a large, unfinished house. The house itself is several stories tall, but the inside is little more than baseboards. From the top floor, our cameraman gets footage of what I think is a raccoon crawling around in the yard, that are like a big cat, and then there's footage of him walking around in the house in the dark, and then the video just ends. Now, I understand how these videos are probably a filter for a lot of people coming into the series. They hear it's creepy and graphic, and they watch 5 videos, and all they've seen is some trees and the ground. I think it does a great job at kind of setting the tone that we're just watching someone's personal videos that they maybe recorded trying to learn a camera, or they just want to record the mundanity of life. It gives us our setting that our narrative will later occur in, but I also understand if you think it's boring. Our next video is once again a titled one, and the title of the video is Cat 1 through 6. When the video starts, we see that it is not about a cat at all. It is in fact about a dead raccoon. And this is not a fake dead raccoon or like a stuffed raccoon. This is a decomposing raccoon. I don't know if the guys that made Kept Here found a dead raccoon like roadkill and just put it in the house to record, or if they killed it themselves. Whatever they did, they left that raccoon rotting there a while. There's also some blue writing next to the raccoon. We can't see what it says yet, but we will later. This is followed by shots of a flashlight out of the dark and a bonfire. But our next video, we're once again around a fire with a group of guys talking, and we get this quick exchange.
What were you telling me earlier about the girl? Dude, do you mind like putting the camera down for a minute and actually talking to me?
So for one, this establishes that our cameraman films everything, as you've probably gathered, but also he seems to have interest in a girl. Well, as we're about to see, that interest may not be a good thing, as right after this, we see several shots of our cameraman walking around the mall. He sees a girl in pink sweatpants and begins filming her from a distance. Once again, doing so in a way that makes it seem like he doesn't want to be found out. While earlier, when recording footage of the guy in the parking garage and the dude jogging at night, it could be argued that maybe he was just getting footage of people going about their day-to-day life, but this footage of the girl becomes much more sinister when he begins to follow her. He walks through the mall, eventually to the parking garage, all the while, our cameraman keeps recording short glimpses of her. Eventually, she leaves, and he seemingly turns his sights onto a woman in a purple jacket, doing the same with her, only eventually getting much closer. So perhaps what we're witnessing is a series that is from the POV of a stalker. But if he is a stalker, and that's what it's meant by the girl he's interested in, then why would he be telling his friend about that? Things to keep in mind. Well, the next video seemingly confirms that suspicion, as it is titled Prey, and this video is of somebody's house from the outside at night. The camera walks up to the house and peers through the windows to see a girl getting ready for bed. I'm not 100% positive on this, but I think it's the same girl who was wearing the purple jacket in the mall. So it looks like our cameraman has followed this woman all the way home and is now filming her in her own house. This is what I mean by the setup for the series makes the punch of it all the more effective. Because up until this point, you've just been watching videos of clouds and trees and ants. You get used to the way that the cameraman shoots these scenes, but then when it's something as intense as this, something as intense as peering in on a woman in her own bedroom, it's recorded with the same objectiveness, as if she is something to be observed. And it makes the sickening feeling of what you're watching all the more impactful. Which also I should clarify again, because people theorize about the series online. No, it's not real. This is not actually a man stalking a woman. The acting for the most part in the series is fine, but when acting's required, you can tell that they're acting. There's also some more fantastical elements of this later, and some of the crimes we'll see. If this was real, then they should get Batman on the case. I've also seen people talking negatively about the series because someone said that this is based off like a real criminal case, and that some of the images that are used are from an actual crime scene, and that some of the names are from actual victims, which is not true. Everything in the series is fictional, and all the imagery was made by the series creator itself, whoever that is. The YouTube channel they're thinking of is Deeper, which is like an ARG that's based off an unsolved homicide, I believe. But yeah, Kept Here didn't kill anyone, except for the raccoon. To follow up the imagery from Prey, the next video is called Clouds, which is just a minute and 20 seconds of clouds. The next video, titled On Roof, shows our cameraman standing on top of the unfinished building from earlier. Once again, just recording the sky, clouds, people on a golf cart. We get some images of the unfinished house from outside, and it is huge, but again left in a state of disrepair for some reason. However, once again, when night falls, our cameraman goes to a house, perhaps a house of the same woman with the purple jacket, and begins to peek through the windows as the video ends. Our next series of videos switches over to a new file type. These files being designated by P, or DSLR camera. Our first clip is just of the woods at dusk, but the quality is already a stark contrast from what we've seen prior. And from here, we have a couple dozen videos from the P series, and it's immediately clear that this is from a different perspective. While in the DV and title videos thus far, it seems that our cameraman is just an unnamed figure, the P videos are from the perspective of a young couple that wants to start a YouTube channel, so they're vlogging their weekend camping trip in the woods. There will be more examples of this as we go on, but every time we have a different file format for a video, it is a different perspective. All of these stories will interconnect by the end analysis, but for now, this new narrative just seems to be taking place around the one we're familiar with. At the end of their video series, we'll hear the boyfriend refer to the girl as Elwyn. I'm pretty sure I know what the boyfriend's name is, but it's a puzzle piece I'm going to save for later. But Elwyn and her boyfriend are disgustingly cute, and I mean that in the worst way. I hate young love, burn it. There's several out of order clips of them setting up their tent, or walking in the woods, or playing with ice, all the while joking without a worry in the world. However, we get a haunting reminder of what series we're watching, as while walking in the woods, they come across a pink ribbon. The same pink ribbon we saw tied to a tree back in the first TV video, reminding us that these two narratives are in a dangerously close proximity to each other. I've also heard several people refer to these two as friends when discussing them, which, no, not to say guys and girls can't be friends and go camping or whatever, but with them specifically, if they're just friends, then he should never upload this to the internet. The comments are going to destroy
Fire?
The P-series is then suddenly interrupted by another video from our original cameraman's perspective. This video is titled Sleeping, and it's our cameraman once again outside of the same house from before, looking through the window as a woman is sleeping, a woman I believe to be the purple jacket girl. And the footage just consists of him looking at the clock, noting it's 1:43 in the morning, and just watching her. She's quiet in bed. Right after this, we go back to the couple. A lot of the punches the series throws works really well. Like for example, I can't watch this anymore on the original channel, but there's a compilation video on YouTube I mentioned earlier and the Internet Archive. Either way, as you're watching the videos, they autoplay one after another. So after watching over a dozen clips of a couple setting up a tent and walking around in the woods and having a good time, bam, a woman sleeping in her bed and the perspective of a man looking through the blinds, and then right back into the couple. The entire series is told out of order, but it's in such an order that it delivers a different kind of impact. The highs and lows are balanced in such a way that it keeps the tension constant, while still delivering information in an order that lets you keep track of things and by the end, put it all together. When we jump back into the couple story, as mentioned, all the clips we see are out of order. But from the clips we've seen so far, we can kind of get a general timeline. All the videos of them driving and playing around in the woods are like 40 to 80. But there's a few files we've seen that take place in the 30s, which of course would have been before this trip began. It seems that the boyfriend went to pick Elwyn up, and before they left, she decided to walk her dog. Well, right after sleeping, when we come back to the couple, we see a clip that shows when they were walking the dog, they came across the 3-story house.
Who owns this house?
This establishes that the couple is not only close to our cameraman from the Stalker series, but that Elwyn is his neighbor, close enough that she would walk into his yard while walking the dog. Also, the outside of the house looks abandoned. It's as if either no one is living there, or at least Elwyn thinks no one's living there. After this, there's a brief shot of Elwyn's dog looking off into the woods next to the three-story house. Perhaps the dog sees something they don't. After that, we get more clips from the camping trip, which I have to say, I have no idea what their YouTube video is supposed to be about. Like, sure, I get no one's first video is their best, whatever, but they're just like breaking ice off of sticks and then like singing Britney Spears.
Oh, baby, baby, how was I supposed to know?
However, something important happens when Elwyn finds a tape next to the campsite.
Is this yours? Do I need to pack that, or is it like trash?
Whoa. What's that, like a mini DV tape?
I guess.
Was this in the bag?
No, that was just sitting on fire.
No, it's not mine, but I'll take it.
Okay.
He says it's a mini DV. What does that sound like? It seems that our cameraman from the other series, the one that has a house next to Elwyn and one that's been filming women in their bed, has left one of his tapes out here in the woods. Did he leave it here on accident? Was it left there for them to find on purpose? Once again, things to keep in mind. Before we switch back to the mini disc tapes, there's this really funny shot where it's just Elwyn walking on a road, and it's very awkward and she looks uncomfortable and there's no audio. So you know her boyfriend was just like, oh, go like walk on the road in front of the trees. It'll be a great aesthetic B-roll shot for our vlogumentary about our weekend camping trip, like 20 feet off the side of the road. And she looks so over it. Which, by the way, later you see another perspective of their tent, and they really are like right off the side of the road, like next to houses. Babe, you don't get it. We're gonna pull over on the side of the highway. There's this little clearing. Babe, it's gonna do numbers. Our next video takes us back to the stalker's perspective. This time he seems to be in a small room with a concrete floor, like a garage or basement. In the room is a chair and dog bowl, but what's also in the room is a completely naked man with a bag on his head. It is there for a brief instance, and then it's gone. While this isn't the first bad thing we've seen him do, I mean, we've seen him peer through a woman's window twice at this point, it certainly ups the stakes. Now there's some guy seemingly held against his will inside of this dude's house. Our cameraman begins to move through the house, and as he does, we can see the same dead raccoon lying on the floor that we saw earlier, letting us know that it's likely the man with the bag on his head, who I'll refer to here on out as Baghead, is being kept in the three-story house. Our cameraman continues to move through the house until eventually he gets to a staircase, and as he turns up the staircase, he sees a figure in a black robe standing at the top. The camera glitches, and we see a brief instance of someone saying,
Yeah, do you have a ladder?
and the video ends. So it seems there's more going on in this house than just a decomposing raccoon. Baghead is being kept there, and it seems that our stalker isn't alone, as we not only see the figure in the robe, but we also see that brief glimpse of someone asking if he knows how to get into a house. Quite possibly the house of the woman he was stalking earlier. So it seems this operation is much larger than just our cameraman. We'll see how large as we move on. Our next video seems to be shot on a stormy night, as our cameraman drives down mostly empty back roads. There's a guy walking with a package in his hand. This could be someone the cameraman knows, or just someone walking at night. There's also these brief instances of what seems like a flashlight off in the distance. Whatever it is seems significant enough that at one point our cameraman pulls over, rolls down the window to record it. After this, we switch back to the perspective of Elwyn and her boyfriend. However, in this first clip, something seems off. Her boyfriend asks how she slept, and she's too busy looking around. Something about her seems agitated.
Pretty nice, right? With all the animals and shit. Did you sleep well?
I slept fine. I only woke up like a few times. Did you sleep okay?
Why'd you look at?
After this, we get a segment from the end of their hiking trip. When the two of them reach the car, Elwyn seems bothered about something. When her boyfriend asks what's up, she said she had a bad dream and heard what sounded like walking around the tent.
All right. Ready to get to it?
Love if
Some McDonald's?
you.
What's up?
Well, I have a little surprise for you.
What's wrong?
Well, I
Okay.
don't have that
Yeah, I'm fine. I was just having
Have
a dream last night, and they sort of bothered me.
sketch of
What?
Pirate Clerk here, and I will be doing
You
this.
want to stop the camera? We can talk about
This bothers her enough that her boyfriend seemingly shuts off the camera to talk about it. Our next video goes back to the stalker's perspective. It's also the longest video in the whole series, clocking in at 31 minutes. The video begins as usual with our cameraman filming
Yeah, I'll let
deer and birds, as well as the outside of the three-story house. At night, he walks inside of the building holding a flashlight, and we also
This
watch him
right
see
now.
Baghead, in some moments crawling across the ground and others standing still, seemingly catatonic. I said it before regarding
Top
the stalker,
down.
but it also works really well here about how
Power Range.
frightening
I
these
like
images
this.
are compared to everything we've seen until this point. The weight attributed to a man being tortured is the same attributed to a flower or a brick on the ground. It also creates this constant tension where we have no idea what the next jump cut will be. It suggests the idea that something bad is happening and our narrator is capable of anything. The cameraman continues to walk around the edges of old buildings.
But anyway, I will be
for a bit before he leaves. Then after this, we see our
that
cameraman driving and arriving at someone's home. It seems that our
is
cameraman has driven to the house of a friend. As he's recording, we hear the friend
right.
talking about a class he's taking.
But I'm also going to do
It seems that what's happening here is our cameraman is filming
red-haired
both sides of the
woman.
conversation, never capturing his own voice, but recording what his friend is saying. Because of that, we can put together some pieces of the conversation. Also, his friend is playing Honey Pop, so really there are two creeps in this room. Going off the habit of
Crashing out
conversation we hear,
on
the cameraman's friend is asking about a girl the cameraman mentioned to him. Perhaps our cameraman said that he was interested in this girl or began seeing her. So his friend asks,
So this girl is just fine with you, like, filming her? Or did you not tell her?
this establishes a couple of things. For one, it seems that our cameraman has a tendency to film everything. I mean, obviously, we've already seen that from the series, but it's to the degree that even his friend knows about it. And also, whoever this friend is, he's not privy to the fact that our cameraman has been filming girls while they sleep. Right after this, the cameraman's friend begins to ask about another person, saying that it's good our cameraman has found someone they can talk to because that's hard for them, but that he's worried about this person the cameraman's been hanging out with. Especially, as this person points out, the guy the cameraman's been hanging out with is high all the time. His friend then notices that the camera guy's been filming this whole time, and in his frustration, we finally get a name for our narrator.
You always tweak out shit, right? Alex, can you put the camera down for a minute? Turn it off. Is it off?
The guy who has been recording every video from the DV perspective is named Alex. Alex has a tendency to not talk to a lot of people, as well as a tendency to record everything. And Alex's friend is worried about this new person he's been hanging out with. He also says this to Alex.
It wasn't roadkill.
We can only assume that Alex's friend is talking about the dead raccoon. So if Alex's friend thinks it's a huge deal that this guy might have killed a raccoon, then he has no idea what's going on. This friend then says that Alex should quit talking to whoever this bad influence is, and with that, we finally get their name.
Look, I don't want to do this project with Kevin anymore.
So it seems that Alex has trouble talking to people, likes to record things, even things he shouldn't. But whatever his shortcomings, his friend fears that Kevin is making Alex worse. This would make sense because we just saw from the footage inside of the abandoned house that there was someone else in a black robe in that house. Perhaps that figure is Kevin, or Kevin is just one of many figures within this group. We also get to mention that Kevin cares about this project. Perhaps the project is the reason Alex has been recording everything. And considering Alex's friend says, I don't want to work with Kevin on this project anymore, then it seems the friend was involved to some degree. But again, if he's freaked out about Kevin killing a raccoon, then he's not built for what he's actually doing. After this, our cameraman, who I can now finally quit calling the cameraman and just call Alex, continues to drive around and film random things. Eventually, in the midst of his driving, he comes to a couple of old gas stations. Once he gets to the second one, he gets out and walks around.
This is
As he's walking
audio
around, he fixates again.
too. I put a little bit earlier in the chat, but it's the, I think it's a Wendigoon analysis, an ARG kept here. There's a few minutes up. Watching it. I find when to get background noise. Copyrighted. Fine on Twitch. How Manic Show. Well, I don't live stream them. It's something that I would about it. But you know, it's just more so I don't stream that often. I've maybe like 12 enough, so starting to go back up now. Well, I mean, yeah, sure. What I'd like to do is like stream more often, or work that is cinematic, because I wouldn't say I'm starting to get burnt out, but I a little bit different. Like I'm not gonna hear every, just I would like to do just to get variety and stuff.
Silver car, perhaps the same one from earlier, this time with the door open and someone speaking in front of it. Eventually, Alex begins to walk on a small trail behind the
Because the main thing is more
Eventually,
so
he just
like
starts filming the thick
actually
brush,
trying
a river,
to figure out
a
what
pair
to
of tennis shoes on the ground,
so
and
it's
some
kind of
buckets.
that
For whatever reason, he's
trying to figure out that balance.
location. However, we then switch to footage of Alex at night. He walks down an old drainage pipe into the sewer, possibly the same sewer system that Elwyn and her boyfriend were near earlier. This is seemingly confirmed as the next shots are of Elwyn and her boyfriend's camp during their camp videos. At one point, after Alex seemingly loses breath climbing up a hillside, as he seems to be panting and the camera is moving up and down a lot, he looks through the trees and sees Elwyn directly, wearing the same outfit we saw her in during the camping videos. The camera then cuts to late at night. Alex still watching their campsite. Eventually, he creeps up to them and shines a light on Elwyn, recording her as she's sleeping. Just as Alex had to the woman in her house, Alex is recording Elwyn as she sleeps, perhaps marking her as the next victim of whatever he and his people are planning. For one, this explains Elwyn's bad dreams. She said she had dreams of footsteps around the campsite, and sure enough, they were real. And this also explains how the DV tape wound up at the campsite, as Alex was there with the DV camcorder. Now the question is, how did that tape get there? Did Alex drop it, or did he leave it there for some reason? Of course, we can't be sure until we know it's on the tape. We then see Alex meeting someone outside of their house. They exit their house in a tracksuit. I've tried to match this house with ones we see elsewhere throughout the series, and I don't think there's a match. I think this may just be someone else who works with Alex and knows what he's doing. After this, Alex is back in the three-story house, and we once again get footage of the dead
Sorry
raccoon.
about that.
This time, there's much
But are your well, the thing is that mostly it's just because I don't stream that often, so I'm not do a consistent schedule. But I would like to do a just finding out what to actually stream, how I would structure it and whatnot. But also I think I've only done a few live streams here, but I would like to do a lot more. Trying to get like stuff that also is just loose anime stuff. Yeah, it's more so just trying to figure out new stuff to do. Not but yeah. You know what? It might have been not too, but yeah. Sure that sorry about that. I think the microphone's just acting a little, but yeah, basically it's more so just me trying to be more consistent with sorry about that. Just trying to be more consistent with live streaming, not often else. So I'm just trying to stream a bit more to try also kind of generate interest in the actual streams. So it's more of a kind of a thing. Sorry about that.
much further along in its decomposition. Merely thin black flesh robed over a skeleton. Again, this entire series is told out of order. Until you get to the end and piece together all the file names, you're not sure what happens when. But weirdly enough, the decomposing raccoon acts as a kind of sundial. Given its stage of decomposition, you have a general sense of where you are in the timeline. Because after this, when we see the raccoon again and it's more freshly dead, we know that it's earlier than the events we're currently witnessing. Morbid, of course, but effective. We then get more shots from the inside of Baghead's room. It seems that Baghead has bleach for some reason, as well as a bucket that goes to the in. We then get footage of Alex standing outside before he pans down to see Baghead walking around outside in the daylight. Again, there's not a ton of things online that really pull off the effectiveness of this. You go from looking at nature to
reminds me of the concept art that you would
and Alex gets footage of this turtle
movies or
or longer than
shows that
human
would
again,
sketch so
without
they have an
Alex
idea
said.
how
After
they
this,
would
we
shoot.
get footage of discarded pink glass and what
Um,
appears to be an open pit next to a construction site. At this construction
cool.
site,
Yeah,
we see
I mean, I
the same
definitely
earlier
want
series with 514 painted across,
shots to
as
be
well
kind
as
of
with the ribbon and
cinematic.
trees. Meaning this is the same location that
That
Alex
is
visited
something I am
earlier
trying to
shortly
get
after we
better
see
at.
Rod, as Baghead drags a black bag to the
Hard.
pit. Footage of this cutting midway and transitioning
Figure
into the
out
next
how
video
to-
titled Clap 1, which shows Baghead throwing the bag into the muddy pit. And while you may guess correctly what's in the bag, you don't have to wonder for long, as we can see Baghead walking away with a purple jacket. The same purple jacket from the woman Alex was stalking back in the mall. This video gave us a ton of information. Alex is the guy recording these videos, and Kevin seems to be the one at least recording Alex's friend who is influencing Alex to do wrong, or at least as far as the friend's aware. There's some sort of project that Kevin and Alex are part of, and seemingly other people are a part of it too, even if they don't know its full extent, like Alex's friend. From Baghead dumping the body of the woman from the mall, we can see that part of this project or group entails stalking and kidnapping women and seemingly murdering them, after which their bodies are seemingly hucked into the woods. This could be part of the reason Alex records random rivers, lakes, construction sites, or abandoned buildings on the outskirts of town. They're all body dumps. And since Baghead was the one ditching the body, either he's a part of this group or project, or he is doing this against his will. Also, what does this mean for Elwyn, the other woman Alex was recording? Questions are being answered, but there are still many to be solved as we move further. After this, we get a video titled Rot. Appropriately, it opens on the image of the rotting raccoon. However, this time its decomposition is much earlier than we last saw it, meaning what we're seeing now is earlier in the timeline. We also finally get to see what the writing underneath the raccoon says. It reads, "Please, God is watching." There's more writing above it we won't learn about until later. We then see Alex walking around the top of the 3-story building before he hears a voice from downstairs and the video ends. Our next video is called Clap 2. If you'll remember, the short clip that showed Baghead throwing a body into the mud pit was called Clap 1. Clap 2 seems to be much more stylized than Alex's previous recordings. A sort of synth tone plays over the video, and our initial cut seems to be from the perspective of someone dragging something heavy down a hallway. Based off Clap 1, this might be footage of a body. At the very end of this cut, we see someone moving in the darkness. We then cut to what looks like a ton of blood and gore, as someone in a yellow latex suit with gloves cleans it up, taking care to discard the remains and use bleach, the same bleach we saw on Baghead's floor earlier, to ensure there's no evidence of the mess left behind. We then get more clips of the 3-story house from outside, blood on the ground, and what appears to be the same homeless people from earlier. So it seems where Clap 1 showed us the disposal of a body, Clap 2 is showing us the cleanup of a body. Someone, perhaps Alex, considering he was the one filming, drags the body away and the blood is cleaned up. I think the footage of the outside of the house goes to say, as you can imagine, most of this takes place inside of the house, and perhaps the footage at the end of the homeless people on a bench are to show us the targets, people who it is easy to make disappear. Perhaps everyone that Alex has recorded has been a potential victim. After this, we get another series of tapes from Elwyn and her boyfriend. In the midst of one of them, we hear something interesting.
I've never been in this tunnel. I've been down here before. This is actually by the school.
So since the area they're camping, and therefore the area Alex has walked through is near school, then we can assume all the shots Alex has taken of a school bus in a parking lot are from times Alex was stalking them or at least in the area. Through this section of videos, we get the end of Elwyn and her boyfriend's camping perspective. And while not a lot is learned through this section, it is cool because once you unscramble all of these, it creates one cohesive narrative. Or at least, you know, the cringy 2014 era YouTube comedy is in order.
My anaconda don't want none unless you got vlogging.
After this, we get a video once again from Alex's perspective. This video has a title, RLMR. I have no idea what RLMR means. I've looked it up. It doesn't seem to be text speak or like abbreviation or anything. It doesn't look to be an anagram for anything. Maybe it's like someone's initials, but I don't know. Regardless, the video seemed important enough to Alex or whoever's uploading these to title it. In the footage, it seems Alex is walking down a road at night, but he's not alone. As in the very beginning, we hear a girl say this.
But he would just climb into people's windows.
Alex just caught the end of the conversation, but it seems she was talking about someone climbing into people's windows. This could be a reference to any story of a stalker or killer, but is more likely in reference to Kevin or someone else from the project. Either if she's just heard rumors or knows what the group is up to remains unknown. While Alex and the girl are standing there, Alex sees a light off in the woods. The girl lights a cigarette and the two begin to walk through the darkness. As they walk, despite the darkness, the girl is telling a casual story about an experience she had on a vacation. This is followed by shots of the lake at night and a dark silhouette. Given that lakes and waterways seem to be a sort of dumping ground, does this mean Alex took this girl out here to kill her? Well, if that's the case, then how is she so calm? Our next video is titled Gray. Alex seems to be in the passenger seat of someone's car riding through town. I've seen people argue that this car is the same car Elwyn and her boyfriend were in at the end of the camping storyline, but if you look at that footage, the inside of their car is clearly a two-tone like tan and brown, and the inside of this car is, as the title says, gray. There's a conversation in the beginning that is very distorted. From what little can be pieced together, it sounds like they're talking about drugs and asking how long it takes them to kick in. And from there, the rest of the video is just a shot out of the passenger window as fast music plays as they drive through town. Now, earlier when Alex went to his friend's house, his friend said that Kevin's always on drugs. And since this is from Alex's perspective and he's seemingly sitting in a car doing drugs, we can assume that it's Kevin he's with. So even though Kevin and Alex are part of some project that is killing women, the two of them still do things like ride around town and get high. Again, the casual tone of the events being depicted make them all the more sinister. Speaking of sinister, our next video is titled Pills. In the beginning of this one, it seems to pick up right where Rod ended, with Alex in the top of the 3-story house hearing someone downstairs. We then hear a voice saying, "You will follow the instructions I give you." And with that, we get the most memorable imagery from the entire series. So from the title of this video being Pills to Kevin saying, "You will follow my instructions," it seems we now understand what Baghead is. All of the women we've encountered so far are killed by the project. And while some of the men might also be killed, it seems that at least this one was turned into a slave, made to take some kind of pill that made them susceptible to control, likely combined with the conditioning of being kept in a dark basement. We also hear the commands that Baghead is made to follow. One clap means Baghead is to bury the bag or the body bag, as we saw in the video titled Clap 1. 2 claps means it's time to clean up. Again, the cleanup we saw during the crime scene cleanup in Clap 2. 3 claps is hard to make out. It sounds like he says something needs to or something needs to be. And then 4 claps means it's time to go. Perhaps 4 claps is what happened to Baghead here, as he's being led out to a field by Kevin, who is holding a sledgehammer, which would explain his bloodied head we see lying on the ground later. Perhaps whoever Baghead was, people became suspicious, or people began to look for him. So Kevin and Alex couldn't have him around the house, so they had to get rid of him, causing them to take Baghead out to a field and kill him. I've seen some people be critical of the story and say this is kind of where they got off. Like everything up until this point is a stalker and people trying to kill each other. And the addition of mind control drugs does add a layer of the fantastical to the story, but it doesn't really go further than this. And I think the idea of a bag-headed slave made to clean up bodies is cool and dare I say creepy. It also gives us an idea of how advanced this project of Kevin's is. If they're not just killing people, but they're like learning ways to manipulate people into cleaning up crime scenes for them. Whatever this is, it seems to run deep. After this, we begin a series of videos from a new perspective, as several of the upcoming videos will start with a file name DSCF, which denotes videos taken on a digital camera. Similar to Elwyn's videos, these start off completely harmless. From the voice we hear speaking to dogs early on, it seems that these videos are from the perspective of a young girl. To clarify, I mean young is in like early 20s or college age, not young as in child. Thankfully, the series doesn't go there, I think. In one of the early clips, we hear her say it's nice to be trusted with the boys, but that it can be scary to be alone, whatever that means. She also records footage of a vinyl spinning on a record player. The vinyl is playing the song Quarter of Dreams by the Cleaners from Venus. Whoever this girl is, she seems to be a sort of romantic, or to at least be smitten by something or someone. After this, we get another named video from Alex's perspective. This video is titled Burn. The opening of Burn seems to be in the woods at night, and we hear a girr say, Considering that we know a sledgehammer is the weapon Kevin used to kill Baghead, we can assume that this girl is in on whatever the project is, offering to carry the murder weapon. This might have been the night that Baghead was murdered. We then see gloved hands burning a Polaroid photo. After the fire's been extinguished, the hand picks up the photo and crumbles it between its fingers. From a brief glimpse of the photo we get before it burns, we can see that it's the blurry image of a woman who's been killed, lying on the ground, her face bloodied. But if we look at the outfit in the photograph, as well as a dark shot we see for a few seconds before the image is introduced, we can see that the victim is the same girl from the beginning of the video who asked to carry the sledgehammer, meaning whoever this was likely in the know on what the project was up to, perhaps even being part of it herself before she was murdered. Either she didn't know what the group was up to and she was always a victim, or the group is tying up loose ends. Our next series of videos takes us back to the DSEF perspective, and it just looks like a series of videos a girl would record with her handheld camera. Her with her friends at the lake, her with a couple of younger boys, perhaps her younger brothers or kids she's babysitting. Footage that would be completely harmless were it not in the series. However, that is until you get to tape DSCF0024, which is 50 seconds of darkness in the woods. Until the camera focuses on what might be a pool of blood, it's hard to tell that the setting, as well as the darkness and the woods and the quiet nature of the shots, implies that something nefarious and certainly less cheery is going on than the previous shots we've seen from this perspective. Perhaps whatever girl was recording these videos wasn't so harmless after all. After this, we get more footage from Alex's perspective. He gets footage of cats, chickens, a house that he's potentially stalking. You know, normal extracurricular stuff. We then get footage of what seems to be a sludge of flies. Perhaps this is some container that something is rotting or decomposing inside of. Something infested with sickness and death. We get more footage of the woods at night. Footage of what appears to be a black bag that earlier we saw a body inside of. And then we once again see that light out in the darkness, only this time Alex approaches it. What he finds is this. A man in a dark robe holding the light. His face, a sort of plastic mask that makes him seem like a mannequin. I believe this figure to be Kevin, draped in a dark robe with a light, preparing for a killing. This is the same light that Alex has seen in the darkness a couple of times up until this point. The time he was driving down the road, saw it, pulled over and rolled down his window. Or the time he was with the girl in the parking lot at night and saw it before he began leading the girl towards it. Perhaps this mask, robe, and light are the things Kevin dons before killing. Speaking of that parking lot at night, our next video is once again from the girl with the DSCF perspective. However, this footage appears to be from a parking lot at night. Perhaps the same parking lot we saw at the beginning of RMLR. That would mean that this short clip that doesn't have any audio is from the perspective of the girl Alex led into the woods that night and I believe murdered. So that means the girl from the DSCF tapes is the same girl who was in the parking lot with Alex, which means my suspicions about the DSCF having the weird footage of the ground at night and potentially a pool of blood means they're up to something. Because the girl who was there with Alex certainly knew what the group was up to. I'll take it further and say I believe this girl to be the same girl who was asking Kevin to hold a sledgehammer and was then murdered before her Polaroid shot was taken and burned. So this girl was a part of the project along with Kevin and Alex, was a part of the killings, but then was killed herself for some reason. Why? Things to keep in mind as we move on. The next video is titled 1905-2016, which is a date that corresponds with May the 19th, 2016. This footage is from the perspective of a Nest security camera. It's 1 minute long and the only thing we see is headlights appear in front of the house. Perhaps someone stopping by who's up to no good. I've tried to match the front layout of this house with some of the other houses we see, like the green house that Alex was stalking, or the house that his friend in the sweatsuit came out of. I can't definitively match it to any, but if it's the security camera of a house in this series, that probably means that something bad is going to happen there. Actually, wait, okay, while I was sitting here recording, I was looking at the footage pulled up to the side and I was looking at it back and forth to make sure I'm on the right place as I talk. Dude, okay, the front of this house from the Nest camera is the front of Elowin's house. And that makes so much sense because when you make all of the Elowin boyfriend camping storyline chronological, the first clip is like a 20-second clip of him waiting on her at the front of her house. And it makes sense why that's there now, so you can match it up to the security camera footage. Oh my gosh. Oh no, but if that, oh no, if that's her house, that means, oh no. Oh gosh, oh, the series is so brutal. Okay. Our next clip is called Vulture, and this gives us a ton of information. The footage begins with vultures eating something dead in the middle of a road, interlaced with images of a concrete floor being sprayed off, likely the aftermath of one of the project's victims. Just like in Pills, we hear a droning noise as Kevin is speaking. This is laced with some graphic images, one of which I believe shows someone slamming their hand with a knife, and footage of what appears to be Kevin outside of a farmhouse. The same house Alex was recording outside of earlier when he got footage of the cats and the chickens. It seems that Alex began to footage this house and eventually Kevin marked it as a target. Kevin continues to speak and says, I've had my eye on her for a while, and I'm done, you can pick up the scraps. Like a vulture. So initially, you may think this neighbor girl he's interested in is one of the girls he was stalking earlier. But I think it's Elowin. Because if you'll remember, back when Elowin was walking her dog at the beginning of her storyline, her dog walked into the yard of the 3-story house. Just as I realized a moment ago, they didn't show us a shot of the front of Elowin's house for no reason. It mattered later to connect it to the security camera. I don't think they would have mentioned that Elowin lives next to the 3-story house if it didn't matter here when Kevin mentions the neighbor girl. So it seems that Alex is interested in Elowin. This seems apparent from him stalking and recording her. But Kevin says he's been interested in her for some time, and when he's done with her, Alex can have the scraps. After Kevin is done speaking, we see this. I believe these are glimpses of part of the project's killings. We don't know what the project is for sure, but we know it involves killing people, we know it involves converting someone into Baghead, and it has things like recording and Polaroids. It makes sense that there would be an air of regalia attached to their murders. We've already seen what Kevin wears, a giant black wizard's cloak, with, a plastic face attached. It makes sense that others in the project would dress the same. We see glimpses of a long flowing dress, a red mask. There's a secrecy and a presentation to these killings. Speaking of killings, our next video is titled Alex. In the beginning of Alex, the camera is fixed on a dark corner in the unfinished house. It seems that Alex isn't holding the camera. It's simply lying on the ground, slightly crooked. As the camera aims at the corner, we hear someone moaning and crying out in pain, louder and louder. Suddenly, a dark shape, cloaked in black, stands up from the corner. If the outfit is anything to go on, this must be Kevin. This is followed by the whole screen turning to an image of a guy being impaled through the throat. It's not real, I think, I'm pretty sure it's still just, fake, made for the series. I don't think it's like a live leak screenshot, but it looks really good / bad. Like I said, viewer discretion for this whole thing. It's funny how people are like, I bet the series got kicked off of YouTube because it was real, or like a real person was convicted in these crimes. And then you watch the series and it's like super graphic images and complete naked people swinging around, and it's like, okay, well, that was probably it. After this, we finally see the full writing next to the decomposing raccoon in the 3-story building. It reads, please don't steal my tapes. Please God is watching. This will be super important for my end analysis, but for now we're just gonna move on. Our next video is titled 26/05/2016. This is again from the perspective of the Nest security camera. It takes place 1 week after the last. We see a girl walking into her home, and while yes, I did just figure out this is Elwyn's house, I don't think that's Elwyn. The hair is kind of the same length, but this person looks older, whoever they are, so perhaps Elwyn's mom. But this video is just 10 seconds of her entering the house, and then the video ends. Our next video is titled Suits. This is again from Alex's perspective. He's walking down the road and works his way through the trees until he gets to a crime scene. He waits for a moment before 2 detectives make their way down the path. The men are far off, and it's hard to understand what they're saying, but I can at least make out the words second body and girl. Also, when they lift a sheet from the victim, they seem to be repulsed by what they find. It seems that the police have begun to find the bodies that the project has been burying. And considering they're out in the woods, perhaps this is the purple jacket girl, or at least in the same region as the purple jacket girl. And again, as mentioned, there is the note of a second body, meaning the police are starting to find several of the group's victims. As he always does, Alex seemingly gets distracted midway through and starts recording the treetops, and then goes back to filming, the police looking at the body that he helped put there. Alex then records his walk home before we get the brief glimpse of what appears to be a black tarp, wet under candlelight. So the police have begun to catch on to these killings. The consequences of this will be apparent soon. From here, for now, we switch back to the girl with the DSCF perspective. I know earlier I said she dies being killed by the group, and I still stand by that, but remember, the series is told out of order. I'm also, so I can quit calling her the girl from the DSCF perspective, I'm just gonna call her Cigarette, since the most notable thing I've seen her do, other than die, is hold a cigarette. We again get a series of videos from her perspective, walking through a cemetery, recording an old mattress in the woods, recording an area that's being logged. Also, in one of my most convincing pieces of evidence that this cigarette girl is the same cigarette girl from the parking lot who I believe gets killed by Kevin. In DSCF 0772, we see her standing outside at night, and what does she do? She smokes a cigarette. After this, we see that she was walking through the cemetery with a friend, the two of them seemingly learning how to use the digital camera. It's after Cigarette hands the camera to her friend that she says one of the most revealing things in the entire series that lays the groundwork for nearly all of the analysis that will come after, and she says it in the most nonchalant way.
It's just frustrating how much attention Kevin gives Alex. It's like, I don't even know what he sees in him. Like, he doesn't even talk, he just like records random ass shit. Like, well, isn't Alex like autistic or something? Like, I think Kevin's just being kind of nice to him. It's not even like that.
Okay. This does so much. For one, clearly, plainly, no obstruction about it. Cigarette knows what Kevin and Alex are up to. She went out there that night with them willingly. She offered to carry the sledgehammer knowing what they were doing, and ultimately they betrayed her. She also seems to be jealous of the attention Kevin is giving Alex. She is likely in love or infatuated with Kevin. This would explain her loyalty to the project and how she got roped into it in the first place. But more importantly, we get the mention that Alex is autistic. Or at least Cigarette's friend says, isn't he like autistic? Autism may not be the official diagnosis, but there's something different about him mentally. We've kind of seen hints of this. Alex's friend says he has trouble talking to people. And as mentioned, he records everything compulsively. But with the mention that Alex may be mentally unwell and Kevin is interested in him, this is no longer an evil guy finding a worse influence. This might be someone who's mentally unwell being taken advantage of. And then right after that, Cigarette drops another bombshell.
He hasn't been around lately. Like, Kevin has just been filming his own stuff without him. I think they got into like a fight or something.
This makes everything fit so much easier. See, when I got to the end of the series and I was trying to lay all of these out in order, I kept hitting complications. Because of my theories you'll hear in a moment, Alex couldn't have recorded everything we see, at least from the DV perspective. But Cigarette says here that they got into a fight, and now Kevin is recording his own things. That means for the handheld mini DV tapes, there are 2 cameramen, Alex and sometimes Kevin. I also think we hear in the rest of this tape the reason the project murdered Cigarette.
Just about things we've been doing. I think he's like worried that Alex is gonna tell people stuff. Nothing, just like, it's none of anyone's business, really.
It seems that Cigarette got upset at Kevin and started saying way too much. I think that since Kevin is so invested with the project, he began handing out cameras to members of the group to record everything they were doing, especially the killings. This is probably why he was so infatuated with Alex, because Alex did that anyway. So it's likely that Kevin saw the same tapes from Cigarette that we're seeing now, and saw that she started telling random people way too much. Off of just what we heard, this random girl now knows that Kevin and Alex are having a fight, and Kevin is worried that Alex will tell people about what they're doing. Keep in mind, this is in the midst of the police finding the bodies in an investigation. So if Kevin's tying up loose ends, then Cigarette's one of them. Also, when she said she thinks Kevin and Alex got into a fight, I think that's an understatement. I also think in Cigarette's footage, we see exactly what she brought to the project. Most of the videos are of her talking to other girls her age, walking around in the woods. I think that she was probably the bait, luring in girls her own age to be murdered. Tragically, this aligns with a lot of criminal cases in the real world, as a man manipulates a woman to bring him victims. Manipulation being a trait we already knew Kevin had due to his relationship with Alex, someone he could take advantage of. That video line seems to be the end of Cigarette's perspective, and like I said, I think we know how she ends up. Our next video switches back to Kevin's perspective with a catch. This video is titled DV100115. This is significant because earlier, the 30-minute video was also called DV100115. I believe, as we're going to see, this is still Alex recording, but going off of what Cigarette said about Kevin, this implies that there are 2 cameras. In this footage, Alex walks around on a rainy day, getting a lot of shots of old cemeteries, walking through people's backyards. He gets footage of a smashed worm and a dead animal, ultimately filming the sky until night falls. We then get footage of Cigarette at the fire. She talks about how she likes watching things burn, which is like the most normal thing she's done. And after some footage of the lake, we hear this. So this seems like it's from Alex's perspective. I mean, it makes sense, it's a DV file, right? But that's Cigarette speaking. She's saying that someone, likely Kevin, is going to get mad if he doesn't have that tape. And then asking, how do we know you didn't go to someone with it? So she's mad because Alex has left a tape, likely a tape of something they've done. More than likely, a tape we haven't seen of the project killing someone. And Alex has seemingly misplaced that tape. Well, where have we seen one of Alex's tapes pop up? That's right, the tape that Elwyn found back at the campsite. So that night, Alex, while stalking Elwyn, someone that we know he and Kevin was interested in, Alex left a tape at that campsite for them to find. But why? We're almost to the end, just hold on to that. Our next video is titled Smut. And similar to videos like Pills, it seems to be far more edited. The video opens with footage of animal bones before it cuts to a white sheet in a field. Heavy droning music plays as the sheet begins to move. A person crawling around unnaturally on all fours. We then cut to footage inside of the 3-story house. We see someone walking around in a wedding dress next to what appears to be Kevin in his plastic mask. Between the woman in the dress and the person in the white sheet, it seems these may be victims of Kevin's control. We then see footage of what appears to be from inside of a shed at the back of the 3-story house. But before we do, we get this horrifying still. I assume this is one of the members of the project. Like, they dress in regalia and go on killings and all that. This is like the worst mask ever. I hate it so much. On the wall of the shed, we can see the Polaroids of several victims, most of which refer to women in derogatory terms such as slut, and show them in various positions of torture and murder. Notably, there's a Polaroid of the dead raccoon that is labeled Cat 1 to 6. If you'll remember, that's the same name as the YouTube video that first showed off the dead raccoon, implying that not only did the project kill the raccoon, but whoever uploaded that video also wrote the name on this Polaroid. We also see a Polaroid of the figure in the black gown with the plastic mask next to someone in a wedding dress that is labeled Kevin with company. This confirms for me that the figure in the black robe is Kevin. We see here that their victims are referred to as company. There's also a Polaroid of the figure in the dress bowing down to Kevin. This could be a member of the project that idolizes him, or more hauntingly, Shockingly, if the men that are placed under hypnotic control are forced to clean up bodies, then it's likely the women under Kevin's control are forced to do much worse. The next video is titled Prolapse. And it's that, I think. I'm going to censor it even more than how censored it is in the video, but it's like a super blurry image of what I think is a prolapse being stabbed a bunch with someone screaming really loud. It sounds like a guy screaming, so maybe this is part of the process to make someone into a baghead. Maybe this is just torture. I don't know. It's gross. The next video is titled IMG8066. This is footage taken from a phone, and as we're going to see, a new perspective. It is 15 seconds of a black screen, but what we hear is interesting.
I just say, oh yeah, it's just some autistic kid. I mean, that's not an excuse. I'm trying not to get the police involved here. What am I supposed to do? Understand that it's your house, it's your face on the tape, no? No, I'm not recording.
So we have someone speaking to someone else about an autistic person, definitely Alex, but saying that regardless of that, it's no excuse. And whatever it is that's going on, this person is going to get the police involved. This didn't make a lot of sense to me until I listened closely to the voice. I believe the person speaking is Elwyn's boyfriend.
It's cold, but there's no animals. I just say, oh yeah, it's just some autistic kid. I mean, that's not an excuse.
So we have Elwyn's boyfriend trying to find out something about Alex, but why? Probably because of the mini DV tape Alex left at their campsite. Her boyfriend found it, watched it, and as you can imagine, became concerned. He probably thought it was some kind of experimental horror movie thing and wasn't entirely sure it was real, but he wants answers. So he's gone to a friend of Alex's, a friend who has his house and his face on Alex's tape. I believe it is the same friend that Alex went to earlier, the one who told him he should stay away from Kevin, that he didn't like the project. As a matter of fact, the tape in which Alex went to his house was DV100115, the same one that there is a duplicate of later. And at the end of 100115, we see Baghead throwing Purple Jacket Girl's body into the construction pit. So perhaps this is the tape that Elwyn's boyfriend saw that got him so concerned. So he goes to Alex's friend who he saw in the video to try to get answers, and when he gets there, in case something goes down, records the conversation. With that context, listen to that conversation again.
I just say, oh yeah, it's just some autistic kid. I mean, that's not an excuse. I'm trying not to get the police involved here. What am I supposed to do? Understand that it's your house, it's your face on the tape, no? No, I'm not recording.
This is the only scenario here that makes sense to me. Otherwise, I have no idea what's going on. Not that it would be a first. After that, our next video switches back to Alex's perspective. It begins as he's just driving on roads through town. He passes the school bus and church parking lot with the cemetery we've seen a few times at this point, likely because bodies are dumped around the area, and as mentioned earlier, this is near the area where Elwyn and her boyfriend went camping. He zooms in on a white truck and eventually parks at a gas station. While he is at the gas station, Elwyn comes outside and walks up to him and says this.
What are you doing parked? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were somebody else.
So Elwyn runs up to Alex's car, and when he rolls down the window, says she thought that he was someone else. Ask yourself this. Why would you mistake someone for someone you know in a parking lot? Because they're driving the same car. That's the only way you would think you recognize someone, and then when they roll down their window, you realize you're mistaken. Keep that in mind. After that, we get another video from Elwyn's boyfriend's perspective that, to me, ties a lot of things together. This video is once again taken on a smartphone. From the inside of the car we see at the beginning, we can match it up to the inside of the car from him and his girlfriend's camping trip. Same two-tone interior, same windows, same handles, same side mirrors. When he steps out, we even see that it's the same gold color. So we are once again getting a video from the perspective of Elwyn's boyfriend. The title of his previous video was 8066, and this one is 8067, meaning right after having the conversation with Alex's friend, he has driven here. We're about to find out where here is right now. If you look at the yard and driveway as he's walking, it might look familiar. And as he approaches the front door and knocks, if you look at the brick around him, it might look even more familiar. Elwyn's boyfriend has gone to the 3-story house. He saw the video, he spoke to Alex's friend, maybe hoping it was a joke, and I'm sure Alex's friend assured him that Alex wouldn't be capable of something like that. So he decided to go to the house that Alex, Kevin, Baghead, and the rest of the project are in, not knowing that he was walking into a monster. Eventually, no one comes to the door, so he lets himself in.
Alex? Alex? Hey dude, my name's Matt. I just want to talk to you for a second. I talked to your friend Liam. Can I talk to you for a second?
For one, due to the unfinished walls we see around him, this is certainly the 3-story house, but also we finally have a name for Elwyn's boyfriend, Matt. This is the reason I've been calling him Elwyn's boyfriend this long, and earlier I said that I think I know his name, but it relates to like in theory and stuff. I guess I could have just called him Matt, and then explained I think he's Matt because of this moment, but I'm not re-recording all that, so. And this also gives us the name of Alex's friend who we visited earlier, Liam. As Matt walks into the house, he assures Alex that he just wants to talk, that Alex isn't in any trouble. He cautiously calls out to see if Kevin's there, until this happens.
Alex, dude, Liam sent me, okay? Can you come out here for a second?
It seems that something struck Matt, killing him. Likely, considering the sound of trickling blood that follows, a sledgehammer. So Matt went to the 3-story house and has now become another victim of the project, another victim of Kevin. After this, the screen is black, but we hear something crawling around, getting closer. Eventually, we hear 3 claps symbolizing that the baghead is needed. From here, we hear Matt's body be drug away. If you remember, 3 claps was the clap we didn't hear what it means. Perhaps instead of disposing the body or cleaning up, they have some use for Matt's body. Regardless, it was enough to cause the baghead to appear and drag off the corpse. What follows is 10 minutes of silence before someone, most likely Kevin, walks back to the scene of the murder and finds Matt's phone, ending the video. This explains how Matt and Elwyn's videos came into the possession of whoever's uploading these. I mean, it's mentioned earlier, the channel is called Kept Here. It's as if it's a personal storage. The reason we were seeing Matt and Elwyn's videos earlier is because Matt probably had all that footage in his car, and whoever's uploading these, likely Kevin, decided to upload their footage as well. The penultimate video is titled End. The footage begins by showing us Matt's car on the side of the road. It seems that this is once again from the mini DV or Alex's perspective, and since, you know, Matt died with his car in their driveway, people were probably going to come looking.
Are you working on any of this podcast?
Confused Alex for Matt earlier. As again,
Fortunately, at the moment,
now, her boyfriend was dead, and he was disposing of the car. He drove the car.
I would like to, but I think it's really just a. Right now, I think the Clueless animation is bringing in the big bucks, so I kind of need to. I'm somewhat reliant on them, but yeah. But I would like to try some new stuff. It's just more so trying to find the time, or if, you know, basically I would have to do a week of experimentation. Maybe in the future, but not at the moment. But yeah.
to a gas station where he knew she'd be. And driving her dead boyfriend's car, who she doesn't know is dead yet, she runs up to the window to greet Matt, realizes it's Alex, apologizes, and walks away. Alex gets footage of blood on the ground, followed by footage of a light walking around in darkness, likely Kevin. And then the video ends as the flashlight makes its way back to the car. This is most likely Kevin disposing of Matt's body. I don't know why he didn't have the baghead do it, but maybe it was already a little too high vis. There was too much evidence pointing Matt's killing towards them, or at least the house. So maybe it would have been too risky to bring the baghead this time, and he had to do it discreetly. Also, yes, earlier in the series they killed the baghead, but for one, the whole series is out of order, so they might have murdered the baghead later. Or I don't know how complicated it is to make a baghead. Maybe they made a new one. Maybe that's what prolapse was. You have to torture people in that way to make bagheads. How would you know? You've never tried. With that, we are taken to the last upload in the series, at least the last upload before the YouTube channel got nuked into orbit. That video is titled Old House. Old House is simply silent footage of someone walking through an old house. From some of the details we see, this appears to be the 3-story house. Only it is far older than last we saw. Leaves pile the ground. Things are covered in a layer of dust. Mud dauber nests and spider webs clutter the area. It seems that this is the 3-story house we were familiar with, but after some time has passed. Without spectacle or note, with that, the series ends. So that was every video I've kept here, at least everyone I know of. Maybe one got deleted somewhere along the line and I can't find it. I'm doing my best. But if there is a way to make it cohesive, then what is it? I mean, what did all of that mean? Well, let's talk about it. So the core difference that establishes my framing of the series is the fact that Kevin is taking advantage of Alex. Sometime before the series began, Kevin got Alex on board to this project. We don't ever hear a clear layout of what it is, but we certainly have signs. People like Cigarette are inducted to bring in new victims. Some are murdered, some are turned into puppets. The moment's captured on a Polaroid, their bodies dumped, and all of it recorded. Perhaps Alex always had an interest in recording things, and that's what made Kevin seek him out. When you line up all the shots chronologically, it kind of leans into the slow descent. Starts off with Alex and Cigarette around a campfire. Then there's footage of the dead raccoon. Then there's them stalking women, and then the murders begin. Which I actually think this person we see by the campfire all the way at the beginning of the series, I believe this is Kevin because it's the same voice heard in Vultures and Pills.
Dude, do you mind like put the camera down for a minute?
But we actually see this person one more time, albeit briefly. At the end of the 43rd upload, DV100112, right after we see Kevin in a black robe at the top of the stairs, the camera glitches into this guy.
Yeah, do you have a ladder?
I believe that this is also Kevin. So Kevin's been there every step of the way. I believe this conversation on the porch to be outside of the house that Alex was stalking. So if Kevin's been manipulating Alex, and Alex is having his hand forced at each turn, then what all has Alex actually done? Because if I'm right about my theory here, and him stalking this woman was just at Kevin's pressure so she could eventually be a victim, then otherwise, the only thing he's done is document this. Obviously, he's a willing participant, but we don't know how far his mental illness goes. We don't know how far he's being puppeted. The one thing we do know that he does is have an interest in Elwyn. After all, in Vultures, Kevin said Alex likes her. But then Kevin says that he wants her first, and then Alex can have the scraps, of course, implying that she'll be killed. So with that, what does Alex do? He leaves her a tape. Despite living next door to her, he can go over at any time. He chooses not to do that. Instead, he finds her and her boyfriend and leaves them a tape. A tape that Matt should have taken to the police, but didn't. I think that Alex feared Kevin and Kevin's influence. I think he was too scared to walk away or go to the authorities, but he wanted someone else to do it. I think Alex tried to warn Elwyn, paid the ultimate price. And I think that because of the tape called Alex. See, I didn't think this initially because there's tapes that on a timeline happen after these events, and they're shot from the same POV that Alex normally would. Well, that wasn't until Cigarette mentioned in her video that after Alex and Kevin had a fight, Kevin started filming his own stuff. And by fight, I think Kevin killed Alex. When we hear Cigarette say that Kevin will be furious that Alex lost that tape, she was right. The police were investigating, Alex had let information get out, he had to clean up shop. Initially, he used Alex to do some of those things, like kill Cigarette, but then he would eventually kill Alex himself. That's why I believe the video titled Alex, in which we see no one operating the camera and Kevin standing up, features a photo of someone, I believe Alex, impaled through the throat. Every video that occurs after this being filmed by Kevin. Perhaps the final straw that tipped the scales was Matt. Matt showed up, had to be dealt with, and then his car disposed of. So after Baghead cleans up the mess, Kevin and Alex ditch his car, ditch Baghead, ditch Cigarette, and then finally the last dead weight, Alex. All of the photos and related evidence being burned as we saw in Burn. This also raises a question, what happened to Elwyn? Well, last we saw her was when she mistook Alex driving Matt's car for Matt. But we actually get one other clue of what might have happened to her, and it's not great. So remember how there's 2 security camera tapes from outside of Elwyn's house? Well, in one of them, nothing happens for a minute except some headlights go by. And in the other one, we just see who I believe to be Elwyn's mom walking into the house. Well, if you turn up your audio on the clip of her mom walking into the house, it's not great. At 8 seconds, it sounds like there is a spring of some sort. Or if not a spring, maybe something breaking. I think whoever walked into the house ran into some kind of trap. And if Elwyn's mom was murdered or kidnapped inside of her home, then chances for Elwyn aren't the best. Especially if Kevin was tying up loose ends and the loosest end was Matt in the tape, then the only other person who knew about that tape would be Elwyn. But maybe Elwyn wasn't home. She doesn't have to be dead. Maybe she's still alive if you wanted to be somewhere. Even if Alex was trying to save Elwyn, it's not great that after Matt died and Alex was in Matt's car, probably with Kevin, they were waiting outside of a gas station where Elwyn so happened to be. I think one of the biggest pieces of evidence that Alex was never evil, he was just a mentally ill person who was walked into an evil place, is the message we see following the pictures of his death. That says, please don't steal my tapes, please, God is watching. I think in some way in Alex's mind, he was trying to do the right thing. He was too scared to speak out. He may have been incapable of speaking out, but he felt like if he documented everything, if there was some evidence out there somewhere, maybe it could be stopped. He had some grand concept of God or a higher power or moral right and wrong. And his answer to that were these tapes. He wanted someone to see what was happening. He needed someone to stop.
As always, bro.
The other videos
very
are
much
self-explanatory at this point. If you line up all of Elwyn and Matt's tapes, they go to walk the dog, which leads them into Kevin or Alex's yard. I think the 3-story house is Alex's because the state of disrepair and Alex's mental condition kind of imply that maybe his parents left it to him. Maybe he doesn't have anywhere else to go, so he just kind of hangs around there. Maybe that's part of the reason that Kevin is so manipulative of him, so they can use the property. Maybe that's also why Liam knew to tell Matt to go there, because obviously Liam would never have gone there and seen, like, the baghead and the other bodies, besides, the raccoon, rest in peace. But with Matt and Elwyn, they walk the dog, and then they go camping, and then they find the tape, and they come home, which leads to Matt confronting Liam, which leads to him going to the 3-story house and getting killed. Cigarette's tapes are much the same. She hangs out with some friends who she, in my opinion, is trying to lure back to the project. She says too much and is brought out into the woods to be killed for it, probably not realizing this until it was too late. One final thing I want to clarify is I don't think Cigarette died on this night where we see her and Alex in a parking lot. Reason being, this footage from both Alex and Cigarette's perspective comes midway through both of their timelines, going off of the video files. I think this was just another normal night of killing for them, and then later, after after Cigarette said too much to her friend, she was murdered. Another point of evidence for this is the clothes she's wearing in the Polaroid and the night she asked to carry the sledgehammer are different than the shirt she was wearing that night in the parking lot with Alex. So I think a timeline for the final events of the series goes as follows. Alex gives Elwyn and Matt a tape of the project's killings. This causes Cigarette to freak out. Matt then comes to the three-story house to confront Alex and is killed by Kevin. Kevin and Alex then get rid of Matt's body and car. Seeing Elwyn at the gas station on their way to do so. After this, because Alex tried to tell Matt and Elwyn Alex is murdered, Cigarette probably doesn't know this, which is what leads her to telling her friend that she is jealous of the way Kevin treats Alex and that the two of them got into a big fight, and now Kevin is recording his own stuff. In this conversation, Cigarette says too much and she is murdered as well. Kevin then continues to burn and destroy evidence, likely killing Elwyn and her mother at their home. If there's only one Baghead throughout the series, then this is likely when Baghead is killed as well, and Kevin seems to be the last man standing of whatever this project was. The ultimate mystery is who is uploading these tapes. Again, the channel is called Kept Here. Most of them just seem to be the file names ripped straight from the cameras that were taken. I think it only makes sense that the person uploading all of these is Kevin. I mean, nearly everyone else is dead, and it was his project in the first place. Because of that, I think we see some images of what he wanted this project to be. Some kind of experimental art piece about murder and death. Because most telling, this seems to be the theme out of a lot of the named clips. Things like Pills has Kevin's voiceover as this droning music plays. Vultures, Burn, Cat 1 through 6, all things that feature death or something being destroyed. Granted, I think a lot of these were filmed by Alex, especially because they'll do the thing Alex does where he films one thing and then gets distracted with another. But I think a lot of the named ones, like Smut, for example, have been edited and named by Kevin. I mean, the Alex tape had to be uploaded and named by Kevin. I don't think Alex named the video of his own murder. And Kevin also seems to be the one to murder Cigarette and Matt and possibly Elwyn, meaning that is how he had access to all of their footage and then upload. I also think the last video in the series points out what happened to him. See, all of these are shot as if they're several years old. The only time we really get a definitive year is 2016 in the Nest security camera footage, which seems to be at the end of the timeline when Elwyn possibly dies. And in addition, from the different seasons we see outside, from fall to spring, as well as the various states of the decomposing raccoon, it seems that the series takes place over about a year. So if the series happens between 2015 and 2016, then I think the final video, Old House, was meant to be recorded around the time the video was actually uploaded, 2020. The video that shows Alex's house abandoned after several years. Kevin wanted to hide the evidence and get away with it, and it seems he did. He killed everyone who knew too much and got rid of the evidence where he needed to. Now he's come back to the house years later, alone, the only person living or willing to tell of his crimes, which creates a horrific notion that Kevin is still out there, which I believe is a terrifying way to end the series. I mean, like I said earlier, there were a lot of people when these videos were coming out who thought it was real. I mean, think about it. If you were one of the first to come across this YouTube channel, you just saw footage of like streets and buildings and trees and then a dead animal, and then boom, naked guy with a bag on his head. Obviously, the series is fictional, but it does such a great job at making itself come across as real. From the graphicness of what's shown to the casual nature of it all, I think it's an incredibly well done piece of found footage horror that doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, so many found footage pieces want to feel like they came from the internet or feel like they were pieced together videos taken from across the web, and this actually is. I mean, I understand why YouTube, nuked it as mentioned earlier, but what an interesting piece of terror. When I was watching this for the first time, like alone in my room with the lights off, the droning noises during Vultures and during Pills got to me. I can't find a lot of people who even talk about this thing online, let alone the creators or the actors, people involved. Hopefully this brings some light to it, and hopefully they come forward, and hopefully they have some more projects for us to check out. But for now, that was Kept Here, the horror series banned from YouTube. And I thought it was really cool, and I think you're really cool, and I just want to say thank you for watching. I heard the series mentioned a while back, so I watched the re-upload of it and was baffled that this wasn't like some Shudder exclusive, found footage horror movie, that this whole thing just got wiped from YouTube. I think it's really cool. Obviously it's graphic, obviously not everyone wants to see, naked dudes and a lot of blood and, stories about women being kidnapped and murdered, and that is totally okay. I do not blame you. But if you are into horror that deals with some heavier themes like that, then I highly encourage you to check it out. I'll have the re-upload as well as the Internet Archive version, linked in the description below if you want to check those out. If I find any information about the creator after this video goes up, I'll be sure to link whatever I can link of theirs in the description as well. But most importantly, this was a scary thing I found online that I wanted to talk about. So thank you all for checking it out, and thank you for the support you've shown not only here, but on Creepcast and on Wendigang. It really does mean the world. New content on the way as always, so stay tuned for that. I believe that should do it for now, but before I go, I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Older and pulled you back. Given that you're big into computers, I know you have to be on this board somewhere. I searched all the usernames by index for Steve, but nothing showed up. I assume you're here. So you know how sometimes I'll come across a series that kind of can't be described with just a couple sentences? This is one of those. The Hypnagogic Archive claims to be a catalog of old media from the early days of the internet. However, after reading through the archives and finding the clues left behind across the internet, I can assure you it is something far more interesting and far more terrifying. There you can find a series of supposedly archived text files and videos, as well as a guest book for site visitors, along with a blog that is used by the website staff. If anyone were to read the text files or click on any of the videos that are listed on the site, they would be greeted by tales of the supernatural and videos whose purpose is unexplainable. We will be looking at stories of aliens, the Hat Man, hallucinations, time dilations, zombie birds, government conspiracies, haunted VHS tapes, insane stalkers, spiritual/demonic encounters, and ghost hitchhikers, just to name some of it. If I had to describe the Hypnagogic Archive in one sentence, it would be a Twilight Zone ARG. While the entire presentation is dedicated to the idea of being a normal catalog for old web content, every story is comprised of the paranormal and the sinister. Not only that, but the videos contain ciphers and puzzles that seemingly connect it to other websites across this expanded series. There's a lot going on here and a lot that I think is worth talking about. So what I want to do is go through the main entries of the series, in other words, the videos, blog posts, guest book, and text files, as well as some of the websites and entries on message boards that I believe tie back into the overall experience. I also want to talk about my own discoveries with the series before turning it over to you guys to try to make some sense of this. So this video is going to be the text files, and then hopefully within the next week, another upload will come out that is an analysis of the videos, the puzzles, the clues on other websites, etc. So the link to the original website will be in the description, and while we're going to go over the stories and videos here today, I highly recommend, especially for the short stories, if this sounds interesting, read it yourself first. What we have here is essentially a horror anthology puzzle game, and we're going to try to put the pieces together. And if that sounds interesting to you, then stick around after the ad, because hopefully you're as excited to hear about this as I am to talk about it. But as much as I want to talk about something as cool and exciting as that, you know what isn't cool or exciting? That's right, having your personal data stolen while on the internet. But thanks to today's sponsor, you'll never have to worry about that again with Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN is the digital tool that keeps your information secure and private whenever you're online. Atlas's servers take your IP and DNS address and mask it with their system, so that way whenever you're browsing the web, if someone wants to figure out your personal information or location, they'll be unable to see it thanks to Atlas's security system. Not only that, but Atlas's user-friendly system has a series of other internet tools that can help you out as well. For example, Atlas has a data breach monitor, so you can put in your email and password and see if they've been leaked anywhere on the web. So now you don't have to worry or wonder if your information's secure. You can just run a check through Atlas and they'll let you know for sure. You can also use Atlas to change your digital location. Say for example, you want to watch a movie on Netflix, but the movie or show that you want to see isn't available in your country. All you have to do is log on to Atlas's system, pick a server in a different country, and you'll be able to view the entire catalog as if you were within that country. Atlas VPN is offered on all digital devices, and right now is featuring a 30-day money-back guarantee. This is definitely a deal you don't want to miss out on. And that's because if you go to the link in the description, you will be able to get Atlas VPN for 82% off. And yes, I said that right. That's the ability to keep your information secure, use the data breach monitor, change your digital location, and much, much more at the link in the description for 82% off. Or in other words, just $1.99 a month. Thank you all so much for watching the ad. Thank you so much to Atlas for sponsoring the video. It really does mean the most. I hope you all check them out. Link is in the description, and we are back to the video. We are going to go ahead and get into it, but as always, thank you for watching. I originally found the Hypnagogic archive in a 4chan thread from December of last year. In the thread, someone linked the YouTube channel. Also, later on in the thread, people were saying that I was going to make a video on it, so I guess that came full circle. What I didn't realize at the time, and didn't end up realizing until I began to do my own research into the series, is that the YouTube channel is secondary to the website. And whenever you travel to the website itself, you are greeted by this, something that looks like a very old internet database. The homepage reads, bringing yesterday into today. Here at Hypnagogic Archive, we're dedicated to preserving the weird and the wonderful from years gone by. Are you a fan of Web 1.0, otherwise known as the old web? You've come to the right place. Our team of experts scours pages of Web 1.0 material to bring you forgotten gems and hidden treasures, many of which you probably forgot about. Whether you're in for a classic blog post that'll make you roll on the floor laughing, or videos filmed in 2007 on a Nokia smartphone, we've got your back. We stock new material regularly from a wide variety of classic sites, so stay tuned. We're dedicated to keeping the past alive by any means necessary. I'm not going to read all of the text, only short excerpts from them. Again, if you want to see the whole thing, link is in the description. But in the blog section, we see our first post from June 18th, 2018 with the title, Hypnagogic Archive is back. The intro reads, hi everyone, Ellis here, new owner and operator of the Hypnagogic Archive and the Hypnagogic Forums. During the last few months, we've undergone some significant changes in staff. We know the last few months have been hard on the community as a whole, especially considering the allegations that came out over our former vice president. We just want you to know that everything is taken care of, and as of now, the archive is under completely new management. We plan on taking things in a bold new direction from here. Don't worry, the things you've come to know and love aren't gone. We will be moving to a new host soon, but aside from that, there won't be many changes. Please check your inboxes regularly for new information as it comes out. So we have our first hints of the overall story. This character known as Ellis will come back up a lot in the future, but we also have that mention of allegations at the old staff and specifically the vice president. Also, there is the entire title of the post itself. The Hypnagogic Archive is back. We'll see this more as we get into the blog post and discussion surrounding the website itself, but it seems that part of this ARG is that the Hypnagogic Archive was an old website that was destroyed and brought back for some reason. Even when going to the guest book on the main website, you can see users who are happy and nostalgic for the site's return. And since you're probably getting bored of all this talk of archives and forums, let's go ahead and get into the fun parts of the story, the stories themselves. On the text file section of the website, you'll come across 12 different short stories. At the time of writing, there is a hidden 13th story, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. The first story, Alien Chain Email, gives you a basic idea of what kind of stories we're going to come across. The specific subtitle of the story saying the following is a classic chain email sent to numerous college campuses in 2005. The email claims to be from a Gordon Wimbledon who works for a government space agency. He describes an event in which his team made contact with a UFO, and after waiting for 5 days around the UFO, an alien stepped out, grabbed Gordon's head, presumably stealing some of his knowledge. Before the alien went back into its spaceship, they left, and this chain email is to alert people so that they can tell as many people as possible that aliens are coming. This seems like a perfectly normal prank email, and it gives us an idea of what kind of information the website holds onto. People who have gotten responses from Ellis through the email have said that Ellis specifically requests content of the weird and the bizarre. Again, keeping up the motif that this is all just an internet catalog. Our first real narrative comes in the next entry, Call and Response, Trial and Error, which comes from a Talk Experience group from 1992. In this entry, our writer tells us that they are sharing the story in order to get over their past trauma. That trauma being an experience they had on their way home from soccer practice. It began to rain, and the rain was so intense that it made it hard to see where they were going. Because of this, our writer eventually became lost while navigating the neighborhood. Whenever the rain finally let up, they were able to see around them, however they didn't recognize their location. Not only that, but something seemed off about the houses themselves. These houses weren't any I recognized. The porch lights were on with about half of them. A lot of them were completely dark. Some of them were on hills, located up flights of stairs. This wasn't my neighborhood. In my neighborhood, the houses are all located on the ground, and the elevation is pretty flat. To add to this confusion, the sidewalk was still very wet and it was reflective, meaning my eyes were bombarded by a light show. Something didn't feel right. The streets kept repeating. So did the houses. Eventually, I knew if I walked far enough, I would reach a main street or a landmark or something, so I just kept going. I knew about suburban sprawl or how in lots of suburbs, all the houses look the same. About a year ago, I visited my grandparents who live across the state. They live in one of those suburbs where every house is identical, and you can only tell them apart by their addresses. This was different, though. Like in my neighborhood, all the houses looked different. They all had different attributes and features. Some were bigger than others, they all looked fancy, but some had patios and some didn't. Some had garages and some didn't. One had lawn sculptures. One had a fountain in the yard. It was bubbling, but I didn't see anybody around. It was like the street was being generated randomly by a computer algorithm at the horizon, and that these houses were randomized while I walked past them. Some of them didn't make any sense. They were just possibilities stuck together, like 3 stories mashed together in an ugly way that nobody would buy. They went on to say that there were no cars on the road or any people in the entire neighborhood for that matter. Eventually, they began knocking on doors to ask for help, but there was no response. Eventually, the threat of whatever world this is makes itself known. After walking some more, I noticed out of the corner of my eye that somebody was following me. I could hear their footsteps on the concrete. I thought I heard breathing, but I wasn't sure. I could have asked them where I was, but I knew somehow that they were a threat and they weren't here to help me. They got closer. I turned around, saw who it was, and then I started running away as fast as I could until my heart caught in my throat and my lungs were going to explode. They were dressed in a dark trench coat and had a hat on, a dark hat. They looked kind of like the man on the neighborhood watch signs. That always freaked me out from a young age. I couldn't see who it was. It was probably a guy. They were moving slowly but walking toward me all the same, and I couldn't see their face. Then I remembered something my friend Kate had told me about a while ago, that when she slept, a man with a hat would stand in her room and watch her. Not do anything, or even move really, just stand and watch her aggressively. Sometimes he was accompanied by other characters. I think she meant she was dreaming all this stuff, but can't be sure. It reminded me of that, and I wondered if I was dreaming this person up. Eventually, after being chased by the Hat Man for several blocks, our character decides to try knocking on another door. When no one responds, and with the Hat Man right behind them, they decide to break a window and hide within the house. It seems that while in the house, our character manages to lose the Hat Man, and eventually falls asleep locked in a bathroom of the house, hoping that eventually the owners will come home. I woke up the next day on the side of the road. Nobody had noticed me there, but there were people around and the street looked normal enough. It was bright, and I was sure I was late for school, but at this point I didn't care. I was dirty and exhausted, and I wanted to go home and sleep some more. I knew my parents would yell at me. I checked the signs, and I knew where I was. I ran home as fast as I could, and I was incredibly happy when I saw my house. It looked the same as it did when I left it, although by now it felt like an eternity. It was also distant in some way. I ran up the walk and stopped when I noticed my parents were sitting on the porch. My dad was holding a beer in one hand and looking out into the distance. My mother was sitting next to him on the wicker chair, similarly expressionless. I went up to talk to them. I waved my hand in front of my father's face, but he didn't say anything. My mom asked to go inside, and he said she could. I went inside with her and saw my little brother Kevin crying in front of the TV. He was watching some kind of puppet show. Mom put an arm around him and told him that everything would be okay. She told him that they would do anything for him. He kept crying, he was going like a faucet. My dad came inside and put an arm around both of them, and that was when I realized that something was off. I put my hand through the furniture. I was dead. I was a ghost in my own house. I couldn't walk up to the second floor. My legs passed right through the stairs. If our house had a basement, I probably would have fallen into it. I shouted at them, tried consoling them, but they were distant and crying, and I sat there and watched. I wasn't safe. It hadn't ended. My family was going through trauma and grief, and all I could do was stand by and watch. It was a terrifying moment that still keeps me up at night. No angel came for me, but the Hat Man did. He saw this grief and came toward the house, hiding his face all the while. I tried shutting the door, but that didn't work. My hand went through it. My parents didn't see him, but he saw me and I saw him. We existed in the same plane. My parents and my house weren't safe. Step by step, he came along, and then from under the brim of his headpiece, I saw his eyes, shimmering, flickering things that glinted in the midday light like a hungry cat's eyes. Then, the world sat back and I was playing soccer again. No Hat Man, people could see me. I was fine. I wasn't dead. I was alive, and it was the same day, and there was no rain. After the game, I walked home and thought about what I had been through. I think this is what drug trips are like. Out-of-body experiences must be like this. I got home and I wasn't late. My parents weren't grieving, and my brother Kevin is as annoying as ever. I feel like this story isn't worth anything because ultimately, I never learned anything. And that's it. That is our story of someone presumably being stalked by the Hat Man. Now, the Hat Man is a common figure in a lot of modern supernatural horror stories. As described in the story, he's most often seen as being a figure who sits in the corner of your room as you begin to fall asleep. Also, for those curious, the name of the website is the Hypnagogic Archives. Hypnagogic refers to the period of time when someone is in between being awake and being asleep. So the Hat Man normally only appears whenever someone's in a hypnagogic state of mind. We'll see a common motif of dreams and these kind of illusionary periods of sleep as we get into more of these stories. I do feel like this elevates the Hat Man mythos because instead of just a figure who kind of stalks around you whenever you're falling asleep, in this narrative, he takes you into a sort of maze of his own making. But he's not a real human, so he doesn't know exactly how it's supposed to look. It's just kind of the guesses or the general feeling of what humans live like, but it entirely exists on a separate plane or in a dream state of reality. And while I could get into the analysis as it relates to the overall lore of the archives, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to you at this point, so I'm just going to roll into the next story. The next story is titled Don't Look Up at the Fan, and it says it came from a Transient Memories discussion board from 2007. The story is essentially a man describing a bizarre VHS tape that he had rented from a local video store. The stripped down version of what happens is we have a camera shot of the Vegas skyline. The camera then pans down to a roadside motel. We then cut to inside of the motel, and there's a woman sitting on the edge of a bed in a dress. She then stands up and looks at the ceiling fan. And that's it. The part that makes the story interesting is the extreme attention to detail the writer gives it, along with a series of conflicting memories, such as what is she sitting on, what was she holding in her hand, etc. While he describes this as a VHS tape, it sounds much more like he's trying to describe a dream. I should also mention he never specifically says it was a VHS tape, he just says he was sure it wasn't a DVD. And I have a theory about this one that again won't make sense now, but I'll bring it up later. So for now, we'll move on to our next story, Genetic Opportunity. I really love a lot of these short stories within the archive, and I know what my favorite is, but Genetic Opportunity is definitely a top 5. The archive says that it was originally posted to the Minneapolis Jobs Board in 1997. The opening message reads, applicants wanted. Team of highly qualified grads at UM are looking for applicant, ideally 20 to 35. Stocky, rough build, preferably male, but female will also work given proper conditions. Want spontaneity. Running through on a first come, first served basis. We pay handsomely. Message us on our Usenet board, UM Genealogy team, or respond below. Are on the verge of something. Need quick replies and to be easy on hand. Easy to work with. Get back as soon as you can. Space is filling up fast. We then see a response from someone known as Derek, who is 21 years old and says that he needs the money for his uncle's heart medication. He says he's interested and asks for the team to call him back and list his phone number.
The number you dialed is not a working number. Please check the number.
Well, that's lame. They agree to use Derek in the trials that they are hosting, and in the following entries, we see Derek's description of events, as can be seen in the following messages. Thanks for everything. The receptionist was nice and your staff was very friendly. Also the upfront payment. Anyway, how you instructed, I'm going to report the effects every day I take the substance. Your technique seemed, well, remarkably advanced. I only took some chem and biology in 11th grade, but I've been reading up on this cloning stuff lately, and it really interests me. They clone that sheep. There are pictures of her and everything. So we see that Derek is part of a drug trial, and after he takes this substance, he is supposed to report the effects back to this board. Everything is fine on his first entry, and it's in the second entry that we see the sign of something being wrong. I think I should mention something that happened today. Sundays I usually go out and walk around downtown for a while. Not really to buy anything because usually I'm pressed for cash, but there's some nice displays. I got to this one display. I think they had a stereo set in the window, and I was looking at it for about 2 minutes when I noticed my reflection in the glass. It was kind of like my eyes were focused on the setup, and then they snapped back and I saw myself. We get our next clue that something is wrong later in the entry. I've been watching a lot of TV, mostly to pass the time. One thing I'm starting to notice is that I'll lie down, turn the TV on, and it'll be a show I'm interested in watching. Before I know it, the show will be over. It's not as if I forget what happened, it's more like time speeds up and I don't notice. For some reason, this only happens when I'm watching TV. The end credits will be on, and I'll feel like I just watched the theme song. But somehow I remember everything that happened during the episode. If I was just dozing off, I wouldn't know what happened. This has never happened to me before, so I think it's related somehow. Feels like a time warp. The first few times it happened, I was worried, but now I've kind of gotten used to it. I kind of like it. If I don't like the show, I can tune out, and the next thing I know, it's over. Kind of cool. I wish I could be as head empty as Derek, that time begins to warp and change my perception of reality, and I'm just like, oh, don't watch TV anymore. To continue Derek's head emptiness, we have a painfully obvious description of what's happening that he's still not privy to. The next entry begins with him discussing missed calls from his girlfriend. I woke up with a lot of messages on my answering machine. A lot of them were from her. As I said, she's very busy, so her voice was upset, and she has a hostile tone. She asked about me, how I was doing, if I was going anywhere, and why she hadn't heard from me in so long. Anyway, that wasn't the best thing to wake up to. After that, I walked downstairs and cleaned up a little. The shelves were dusty for some reason. I'm sorry. I know the story doesn't want to give it away yet, and that's why he's being like painfully dumb, but I could just imagine a guy picking up the phone. It's like, what do you mean you haven't seen me in a week? She's stupid. Man, this house sure is dusty. The shelves were dusty for some reason, and some of the food in the fridge had gone bad. Probably a power outage. Probably a power outage. I threw it away. The lasagna last night was good. I added some dill. Good for you, Derek. While walking around town, we have another indication of what's going on. I noticed a shop I hadn't seen before. It was a coffee shop. I'd been to the center about a week ago and it hadn't been there. There was a boutique instead. The speed with which they renovate these places is pretty amazing. I imagine it takes a huge team to fix everything up and turn it all inside out. I threw my sandwich away, and by the time I got to the doors, it was already closing time. When I went in, it was only about 3 p.m. But I stepped out and the security guard waved goodbye and it was 9. I guess I must have lost track of time. Or maybe it was later than I thought when I got to the city center. I'm sorry for laughing, but like, it's just so wild to imagine a guy, it's like 3 p.m. and he walks across a restaurant and it's midnight and he's like, oh, I have to remember to stop doing that. The next entry opens and the problem again becomes much worse. My uncle's funeral was today. When he left the hospital, he seemed to be recovering. Now he's buried. I attended the funeral. My parents called me and they told me that I better show up or there would be consequences. I had no idea what they were talking about. Then I checked the computer's internal clock. It's September. September 1997. I went to sleep last night and it was May of 1997. I feel like hell. Stomach's a mess from malnutrition, and I looked in the mirror and wow, I look old. I finally realized how it is. You know how when you go to sleep you start dreaming and the dream is incredibly vivid? Right down to the last detail. Then you wake up and you can't remember any of it. Only you should be able to remember it. It was right there in your brain a second ago. It was such a real experience that it should register in your memory. Only it doesn't. That's how these prolonged blackouts are. I remember them vaguely. Remember eating as well as I could, shuffling around the house, going outside maybe once a week to keep my legs active, but the whole time I wasn't myself. I was somebody else, acting on commands, basic motor functions to keep my systems running. Might have taken one bath. Now these months are one giant blur, and I've snapped back to complete awareness. Feeling resembles being shot with a gun. So, as you've probably guessed at this point, whatever drug he's taking is causing him to experience extreme gaps in time. And during these gaps of time, his body is still walking around, however he seems to be a bystander for it, or as he described, feel as if he's in a dream. In our next entry, the time jump becomes more extreme. The surprises just keep on coming, don't they? The years start coming and they don't stop coming, according to a new song by a band called Smash Mouth. You know, so I read and I go through so many ARGs and watch series, and I love all of them, but some of them do take themselves a little too seriously. And it's just nice to read one that is about a guy experiencing like these wacko time dilations, and the story just being like, hey, 1999. Remember Shrek? It's 1999. Almost the new millennium. I've been like this almost 2 years at this point. Didn't take a dose last night. Or should I say 1997. Called my parents up. They practically disown me by now. Talk about me like I was dead. Their son on the other side of town who never drops by to visit, always stays at home and never comes out, except very rarely. Neighborhood committees have signed petitions to kick me out, that my house and the stench coming from all this decay is lowering the value of their property. In the next entry, it again gets worse as he wakes up in 2003. He tries to go back to the college building to try to find the people who began this trial, but the building isn't even there anymore. And the final entry of the story reads, writing from public library. Somehow can't remember anything except the password for this forum. It all makes so much sense now. And that story ends with this person presumably falling asleep and either waking up when he's dead or at some point in time infinite. Again, while there are elements that connect to the overall hypnagogic archives, like the concept of the dream state or this kind of in-between state that we're going to see referenced a lot more in coming stories, I love that you could send someone genetic opportunity on its own, and it's just its own short story. It's an interesting little sci-fi horror narrative that just works on its own pace. And speaking of, we are now into the next story, which I'm going to do an official ranking of my top 5. So genetic opportunity is my 5th favorite. This next one, Heron Observations, is my 3rd favorite. Heron Observations was originally posted to the Potomac Museum night shift on their local network in January of 1990.
Alright, I think that looks
good.
good.
Between the members of museum staff, more particularly the museum's night guard. The first message reads, hi everyone, my name is Deborah. I'll be taking care of the wildlife collection on the 3rd floor after hours. As you all know, you had an incident last month involving some looters, and I aim to keep the collection safe. That said, I'm looking forward to spending the night here. Your collection is invaluable to wildlife researchers across the state and the country, and having spent last night touring the grounds, I'm in admiration and a bit of shock as to how well your specimens are preserved. They're very lifelike. Your taxidermist did an excellent job. Harry, who seems to be the head of either the night security or the museum itself, welcomes Deborah on the message board. In the next entry, Deborah describes an account of her first night on the job. The night seems to be routine except for one peculiar mention. The night was mostly uneventful and consisted of routine walks save one incident at 1:54 a.m. I found that specimen mirrors the great blue heron had tipped onto its side. I had a screwdriver on hand, so I opened the case and popped it back up. Whether this is due to negligence on your part or some sort of vandalism, I can't say. Though it's certainly puzzling. Why thieves would bother putting the bird on its side and then leave it, moreover screwing the front of the case back on, is baffling to say the least. Please get back to me on this. Thanks. In the next message, Martez, the aforementioned guard from the 4th floor, gives more insight to the previous incident at the museum. I guess it makes more sense to split the floors up, because when the looting happened, I was up on the 4th floor. I never really went down to the hall anyway. I'm glad I wasn't fired. Seeing the broken glass everywhere and the seal gone really upset me. The thing you mentioned about the heron being tipped on its side is weird. Negligence wouldn't do that because I talked with our taxidermist, and he always bolts the specimens onto their stands to keep them in the correct position. Throughout the next entry, we get the description from Deborah of what happened on the next night. The storm broke once I got to the museum. It was pouring when I got to the doors. I set the roughly 11:50 and went upstairs to the hall, then sat down on my bench. No footprints, which would still be visible if someone had come in from the rain. They would have left mud. I searched the premises thoroughly with my flashlight, but found nothing. At this point, I was able to resume my position until I noticed that the heron's case was empty. The pane had been screwed back on, and the stand was still in the case, though some feathers and a portion of the heron's lower rib cage remained bolted down. I regained my composure and hoped that the thief hadn't exited yet. I quickly aimed my flashlight in all possible directions. What happened next is something I can't explain. I noticed the heron standing upright in the middle of the hallway, directly in front of the entrance on the left. I believed the thieves were playing games with me, so I approached the heron before they could take it. Call it a trick of the light or trick of the mind, the heron actually looked up at me and opened its beak. This damn thing, covered in feathers and embalmer's glue and formaldehyde and who knows.
Alright, I'll probably end the stream right here. So yeah. Good. Yes. Hope everyone has a good night. Tomorrow. Yeah. All right.